Chapter 4739. As for how Huang Tong sensed my aura just now, Xiao Hua pinched his chin again and thought, it's probably because Xian Hong finished his discussion, so the so-called treasure ship naturally returned to the upper realm. When the treasure ship left the 3 continents, it inevitably set off space and time waves. When the world-destroying Mayfly was sent to the 3 continents, it must have torn the void between the 3 continents and Xinyuan space. Coincidentally, on the hidden immortal continent, Immortal Emperor Go-chan was setting up the great array of the 9 provinces, tearing open the border of the realm. On the other side, in the Xinyuan space, Yi Jian was also making the final breakthrough, tearing the realm apart with his spatial magic. With these 3 together, it's enough for Huang Tong to return. It's not that I don't know. The world is really wonderful. If I hadn't heard of Xuanhong's discussion, even Su Ji and Fairy Xing, you wouldn't know the secrets of this world. As Xiao Hua spoke, a long whistle suddenly came from the distance. The Thunderbolt Immortal's divine sense swept over like a wave. Xiao Hua was stunned. He raised his head and looked in the direction of the Thunderbolt Immortal, somewhat puzzled. But then, Xiao Hua shouted angrily, "How is this possible? How'd I go astray again? I thought that I had no sense of direction because the Phoenix Celestial Body was not here. Now that the Phoenix Celestial Body has returned, he is proficient in spatial escape techniques and is naturally very sensitive to directions. But now that he's inside my body, how could I possibly fly off course? Forget it, forget it. It seems that I was born with a bad sense of direction. It has nothing to do with the loss of the Phoenix Celestial Body." As he spoke, Xiao Hua changed his direction and flew towards the Thunderbolt Immortal. Seeing that he was close, the Thunderbolt Immortal raised his voice and said, "Fellow Taoist, what was that aura just now? Why did I feel that it was strange yet familiar? And why did the Phoenix cry sound exactly the same as the Phoenix Wudong?" "Huh." Xiao Hua laughed and said, "Guess." The Thunderbolt Immortal glanced at Xiao Hua and replied, "If I could guess, why would I ask you?" Xiao Hua was a little stunned. He looked at the Thunderbolt Immortal's eyes and said curiously, "Fellow Taoist seems to have some humanity." "Don't interrupt." The Thunderbolt Immortal did not hesitate to interrupt Xiao Hua and asked, "Tell me, what was that aura just now?" "Huh." Xiao Hua smiled again, because the Thunderbolt Immortal's eyes were filled with impatience. Although this expression looked somewhat unnatural, it was still a budding human nature. Xiao Hua said happily, "Looks like Princess Qingqing isn't completely useless. What does this have to do with Qingqing?" Thunderbolt Immortal asked curiously. No. Xiao Hua hastily replied. "Our Fortune Gate's 10th Old Master has returned." "Ah, there really is a 10th Master." The Thunderbolt Immortal was astonished. He cried out, "Hurry up and have him come out to greet me. The second master of the sect. There's no need to rush." Xiao Hua waved his hand and said, "After I finish dealing with the matters of the Xiao Empire, I will let him meet with you." "All right." Thunderbolt Reverend nodded. After which, the 2 of them flew towards Xiao country. Xiao Hua asked about Princess Qingqing with concern. It was within Xiao Hua's expectations. Princess Qingqing didn't do anything out of line. She even accompanied the Thunderbolt Immortal every day. Of course, with Princess Qingqing's scheming mind, she wouldn't make the Thunderbolt Immortal impatient. She even made the Thunderbolt Immortal feel that Princess Qingqing was very obedient. The bad impression in his heart was greatly reduced. Fuck! Xiao Hua rubbed his chin as he listened. This Princess Qingqing wouldn't really become a good person, right? However, when he thought of the word good person, Xiao Hua laughed inwardly. How could there be a distinction between good and bad people in this world? In the eyes of Confucian cultivators, he was probably a bad person, right? In the eyes of Taoists, all Confucian cultivators were bad people, right? Princess Qingqing wasn't necessarily a bad person. It was just that she went against Princess Zixia, which made him feel that she was a bad person. Of course, Xiao Hua didn't know whether Princess Qingqing had done anything outrageous in the past. However, The fact that Princess Qingqing had killed a Dao Sex nascent soul realm cultivator in order to prepare a birthday gift for the Emperor-Empress was enough to make him stay away from Princess Qingqing. Not long after, they arrived at the Shao country. He saw Princess Qingqing and Yu Xia standing in the air, smiling at the Thunderbolt Immortal. Their watery eyes were frightening. Seeing Xiao Hua flying over, Princess Qingqing didn't come over to greet him. Only Yu Xia looked at Princess Qingqing and flew over. She bowed and said, "This servant greets sect master. No need to be polite." Xiao Hua helped her up and said, "Most of the things in our fortune gate are vulgar and can't compare to the luxurious Immortal Palace. If you're not used to the fortune gate, you should return to the Immortal Palace as soon as possible. Even if the Immortal Emperor is angry, with the protection of the Emperor-Empress, you won't be too embarrassed. It's better than wandering in the mortal world." Yu Xia's face turned pale, and she said in a low voice, "This servant knows. But this servant begs, sect master, don't chase my young miss away. His Majesty has indeed issued a kill order. Young miss will not be killed by the Immortal Palace if she stays in the fortune gate." Although Yu Xia's voice was soft, Princess Qingqing wasn't far away and naturally heard it. Although the smile on her face was bright, there was a faint sadness in her eyes. Forget it. Xiao Hua's heart softened, and he couldn't help but sympathize. He waved his hand and said, "Do as you wish. Just pretend I didn't say anything." "Many thanks, sect master." Yu Xia smiled slightly and flew to Princess Qingqing's side without saying anything else. Behind Princess Qingqing and the others were the patrolling disciples of the Fortune Gate. The leader hurried forward to greet them. He then tried to ask about the strange movement earlier. Xiao Hua was surprised because this leader was only at the 4th grade and shouldn't have been able to sense Huang Tong's aura. Of course, when he saw the leader's gaze on the lightning sage, Xiao Hua understood. He smiled and said, "Children don't know each other and ask where the guest is from. You don't need to ask any more questions. Pass down this old man's order. Tell Fu Jiwen to act according to our previous discussion." The leader was confused, but he didn't dare to ask any more questions. He hurriedly sent a disciple back to pass down the message while he waited beside Xiao Hua. In the time it took to eat a meal, the sound of weapons clashing could be heard everywhere in the Shao country. There were even sounds of weapons clashing, and from time to time, there would be waves of origin energy sweeping in like a hurricane. The chaos in the Shao country lasted for a full hour. Then Fu Jiwen flew over with the tied-up Prince Lan, Li Xiang, and Xiaomi. Seeing that Xiao Hua was here, Prince Lan cried out loudly, Master, I'm innocent. Give it a tip, and thank you for all your support." Chapter 4740. Xiao Hua's face sank, but he didn't say anything. He only looked at Fu Jiwen. Fu Jiwen bowed and said, "Master, the Sky-Bearing Palace placed a total of 304 cultivators in the Shao country. 130 of them were captured alive, and the other 174 cultivators resisted. Disciple killed them all. The Taoist Qing Su and a few other cultivators that Master wanted to kill are not in the Shao country. Disciple has already sent troops to the Sky-Bearing Palace." Princess Qingqing found it strange at first, but after hearing Fu Jiwen's report, she came to a realization. She couldn't help but interrupt. "Xiao Hua, you're too soft-hearted. The Grand Mist Ancestor has already bullied you, yet you only killed a few of his disciples. If it were me, I would have annihilated the entire Sky-Bearing Palace." "Shut up." The lightning sage glared at Princess Qingqing and scolded. "When did I ask you to speak?" "Yes, I understand." Princess Qingqing obediently shut her mouth. "Because." Xiao Hua glanced at Princess Qingqing and answered indifferently. "The Grand Mist Ancestor has been killed by me. The Sky-Bearing Palace is mine." Clap, clap. Princess Qingqing stole a glance at the lightning sage and clapped her hands without saying anything. "Speak." The lightning sage was overjoyed when he heard that the Grand Mist Ancestor had been killed. He glanced at Princess Qingqing and spat out a word. After getting the lightning sage's permission, Princess Qingqing clapped her hands and said, "This is what a Dao Sec Supreme expert should do. That Grand Mist ancestor wanted to kill you and take your fortune gate for himself. You should have retaliated long ago. Now is the time to take the sky-bearing palace for yourself. Not only the Grand Mist ancestor, Xiao Hua continued. Not only the Grand Mist ancestor, the black armored Pentaceratops and netherworld demonic dragon spiders were also killed by me. Princess Qingqing was shocked. She looked at Xiao Hua in disbelief and asked after a while, Daoist Xiao Yu, what are you planning to do? Xiao Hua ignored Princess Qingqing and said to Fu Jiwen, Princess Qingqing is right. Gather the troops and head to the sky-bearing palace, as well as the Grand Mist ancestor's forces. Announce to the public that the Grand Mist ancestor, the profound armored Pentaceratops, and a netherworld demonic dragon spider had ambushed Master and were killed by Master. Let's see how they react. If they don't want to submit to my fortune gate, you can let them go, but if they want to submit to my fortune gate, it's up to you. Yes, Master, this disciple understands. Fu Jiwen was about to carry out the order. Wait, Xiao Hua stopped Fu Jiwen again and asked, have the people of the Xiao Empire moved to the Kunlun immortal realm? Fu Jiwen glanced at the Thunderbolt spiritual master and smiled. Martial Uncle Thunderbolt has already done this. There are still some citizens of Xiao Empire who are unwilling to leave. And Xiao Hua released his divine sense and took a look before saying to Fu Jiwen, the current Xiao Empire has already become an empty shell and has lost its meaning of existence. Send a disciple to pass down my order to withdraw from Xiao Empire in 10 days. Also, inform the citizens of Xiao Empire that Daoist Xiao is willing to protect them. However, the method of protection will be chosen by Daoist Xiao, and they will not force Daoist Xiao to make a choice. Disciple understands. Fu Jiwen bowed respectfully and left in a hurry. Only then did Xiao Hua's gaze fall on Prince Lan's face, and he said coldly, even now, you still say that you are innocent. Master. Prince Lan opened his mouth, wanting to explain himself, but in the end, he was unable to open his mouth. Shut up, Xiao Hua said coldly. You are no longer worthy to be this old man's disciple. Moreover, since this old man found out that you were the one who harmed Changyu, you are no longer this old man's disciple. Yes. Prince Lan hung his head dejectedly, and the light in his eyes dimmed. Xiao Hua said bitterly, Prince Lan, this Xiao has saved you from the Yaotai Mountain, and this Xiao has accepted you into the artificial transformation gate. This Xiao knows that you have selfish desires and ambitions, but it doesn't matter if you're fighting for power in the soaring Dragon Mountain range, or shrinking your forces in the Thousand Demon Sacred Territory. It doesn't matter if you don't want to save this Xiao, or even if you seek refuge with the Grand Mist Ancestor when this Xiao's fate is unknown. This Xiao will not blame you. After all, when people are faced with difficulties, they will make their own choices. However, you should not have schemed against my Fortune Gate's disciples, especially Xiong, Yi, and Changyu, who were like brothers to you. This Xiao had asked Xiong Yi about it, and he had said clearly that if you were unwilling to go, they would not force you. Even Li Xiong did not go to the Thousand Demons' sacred territory, right? This Xiao does not know what you were thinking that day. How dare you attack Changyu? Xiao Hua's interest waned as he said this, and he waved his hand dismissively. Forget it. Why is this Xiao talking so much to you? Xiong Yi, kill Prince Lan, and his disciples who were involved in this matter. All of them. Also, announce this matter to the public as a warning to others. Yes, Master. Xiong Yi nodded and grabbed Prince Lan. Xiao. Daoist Xiao. Prince Lan struggled and shouted, this disciple knows his mistake. This disciple deserves 10,000 deaths. This disciple would like to count out a Daoist Xiao one more time before I die, hoping to be Daoist Xiao's disciple in my next life. No need. Xiao Hua shook his head. You will not be this Xiao's disciple in the future. I hope that in your next life, you will be a person with a clear conscience. Seeing Xiao Hua shake his head, Xiong Yi grabbed Prince Lan and said to Li Xiong, Senior Brother Li, let's go together. Li Xiong looked at Prince Lan's miserable state and inwardly rejoiced. After all, he had entered the fortune gate at the same time as Prince Lan and Xiongyi, so it was only right for him to send him off. However, he still took a glance at Xiaohua. This glance revealed his indecisiveness, and he was afraid that Xiaohua would have other thoughts. Xiaohua's heart was heavy, and seeing Li Xiang looking at him, he nodded slightly. Li Xiang felt relieved and followed Xiongyi. Beside the two of them, the disciples that Fu Jiwen had arranged earlier were already following them to prevent any unexpected changes. Princess Qingqing saw the displeasure in Xiaohua's eyes, so she said, "Daoist Xiao, you are too soft-hearted. This kind of traitor should have been eradicated long ago. There is no need to worry about him." After saying that, Princess Qingqing looked at the lightning Taoist and realized that she had said too much. Seeing that Princess Qingqing was quick to speak, Xiaohua nodded and stopped the lightning Taoist from scolding. He replied, "There is no other way. After all, this is a life. Moreover, he has followed this Xiao for many days. It's a pity that you can't judge a book by its cover." In the end, he actually fell to this state. A life for a life, a debt must be paid. Although Princess Qingqing didn't know the details of Prince Lan's crime, after hearing Xiaohua's words, she understood most of it. She said coldly, "Although he was bewitched by the Grand Mist Ancestor's disciple, he still killed Changyu. He deserves to die." Yes, he deserved to die. Xiaohua's heart moved, and he thought of the grudge between Ananda and Yuan Tongtian. He smiled bitterly and said, "But some people clearly killed people," but Xiaohua's words had just left his mouth when he was stunned. After all, at his level, some thoughts would not appear without reason. Give it as a reward, and thank you for all your support. Chapter 47-41. Sure enough, before Xiaohua could finish his words, his expression changed, because at this time, Xiaohua suddenly felt that the 3 voodoo puppets he left for Chunzong, one of them was broken. Without any hesitation, Xiaohua's body flashed, and he teleported away. When he was out of everyone's sight, Xiaohua immediately asked Huang Tong to come out. When Huang Tong's demonic body appeared, she immediately understood Xiaohua's intention. She waved her 2 phoenix claws in the air, and the void was torn apart. Huang Tong brought Xiaohua and flew in. When Xiaohua flew out, he was already at the coast of the East Sea of the hidden immortal continent. Damn it! Xiaohua's divine sense swept out. When he saw the situation in front of him, he couldn't help but curse inwardly. He saw that this was a dangerous place. The mountain ridge was steep, and the mountain path was rugged. Heavy fog covered the mountain peaks for hundreds of miles. A pungent stench was emitted from this fog, rushing into the air. At this time, the dense fog was filled with world destruction mayflies. Some of them were on the fog, some on the mountain peaks, and some were in the forest. Bursts of chewing noises that sounded like a sandstorm constantly rang out. Looking into the fog, at the foot of a mountain, Chun Zhang's monk robes were torn. He was powerlessly sitting on the mountain path, leaning against a stone wall. Moreover, there were many mayflies surrounding the mountain path like flies. They swarmed toward Chunzong like a swarm of bees. When Xiaohua saw that Chunzong was unharmed, his heart calmed down. His gaze fell on Zhen Jie, who was waving the 9-toothed rake in front of Chunzong to drive away the mayflies. At this time, in front of the mountain ridge, there were 2 mayflies that were several hundred feet long. They were madly rushing toward Zhen Jie. Even though Zhen Jie roared, the 9-toothed rake emitted a cold light. It was still unable to deal with them. The 2 mayflies waved their tentacles, leaving tiny scratches on the rake. Chastity's 4 hooves danced in the air, occasionally stepping on the mayflies' bodies. Unfortunately, Chastity's hooves were unable to leave even the slightest mark on the mayflies' bodies. Looking at Zhen Jie's side, the 6-eared macaque waved its magic wand to protect Chunzong. In front of him, there were dozens of mayflies that were several tens of feet long attacking. Xiaohua frowned as he looked at the 6-eared macaque. Of course, Xiaohua had let the 6-eared macaque go in the small town by the East Sea. He had agreed to let the 6-eared macaque protect Chunzong in his quest for the Buddhist scriptures in the West. He had used the most troublesome method to resolve the grudge between the six-eared macaque and Yuan Tong Tian. Moreover, Xiaohua also learned from Avarakana the Buddha that the six-eared macaque and Yuan Tong Tian had some old grudges in their past lives. However, he still had some lingering hatred in his heart and did not want to see the six-eared macaque. But seeing the six-eared macaque in such a pitiful state, Xiaohua sighed. The six-eared macaque's left arm had been cut off by the red mayfly. A large gash ran from the left arm, through its chest, to its right leg. Blood was still dripping from the wound, and the blood had already soaked the entire mountain path. White bones could be vaguely seen on the left arm and right leg. It was obvious that the shaman puppet that had just been destroyed belonged to the six-eared macaque. Roar! The six-eared macaque let out a loud roar. His right arm waved the magic wand and blocked the red mayfly's hind leg. Before he could do anything, a red mayfly suddenly broke free from his defensive range. Its whip-like tentacles pierced through the air and aimed at Chun Zhang's forehead. Damn it! Six-eared macaque was shocked. He cursed under his breath and swung his wand at the red mayfly. Crack, crack! There was a strange sound. Six-eared macaque's wand was caught by two of the red mayfly's tentacles. He could not pull his wand out. Seeing the ripples in front of Chuanzong's head, the mayfly's tentacles were about to reach out. Without any hesitation, the six-eared macaque threw down a magic wand and stood in front of Chuanzong. At the same time, the red mayfly's tentacles landed on the six-eared macaque's heart, between life and death. The six-eared macaque's face was expressionless. He muttered under his breath, Namo Amitba. Swoosh. Before the six-eared macaque could finish his chant, there was a flash of light in front of his eyes. When the six-eared macaque came to his senses, he was already in the air. In front of him was Xiaohua's expressionless face. Master! The six-eared macaque was shocked. He quickly looked around. When he saw that Chunzong was standing behind him, unharmed, he relaxed. He bowed to Xiaohua and said, Thank you, Jinren Xiao. Xiaohua. Huang Tong frowned. Her eyes were like lightning. She glanced at the red mayflies on the ground and asked in a low voice, Are these the red mayflies you were talking about? Xiaohua nodded. He looked at Huang Tong expectantly and asked, Do you have a way to kill these red mayflies? Let me see, Huang Tong said. She spread her wings and flew towards the red mayflies. Thank you for saving me, uncle. Chunzong came to his senses. He quickly put his palms together and bowed. Looking at Chun Zhang's weak state, Xiaohua's heart ached. He quickly took out some pills and spirit dates and gave them to Chunzong. He said, Take these pills and rest for a while. Chunzong looked at the six-eared macaque and said, With Zhun Kong and Zhun Jie's protection, I am not injured. I don't need your pills. Please give me some spirit pills to heal Zhun Kong. If possible, please use your divine powers to heal Zhun Kong's body. Xiaohua nodded. He put the spirit dates and pills into Chun Zhang's hands. He then took out another jade bottle and gave it to the six-eared macaque. Take this pill. No need. The six-eared macaque did not even look at the jade bottle. He replied, Thank you for your kindness. This body has become my burden. I was afraid that I could not give it up. Now that the red mayflies have swallowed it, it will help me. I do not want to take any pills. Oh, Xiaohua was taken aback. After a while, he said coldly, When I let you go that day, I wanted to destroy your cultivation. But considering that you wanted to protect Chunzong, I did not do it. Now that you have lost your left hand, your strength is greatly reduced. How are you going to protect Chunzong? Let me tell you, Bodhisattva, the six-eared macaque replied calmly. Escorting the master to the west to seek the scriptures requires loyalty. It requires determination to seek the scriptures. It requires perseverance to go through hardships. It has nothing to do with strength and cultivation. Also, ever since we parted at Longevity Town, I have learned a lot. I am ashamed of what I have done. In my previous 8 lives, I have practiced Buddhism and never harmed anyone. But in this life, I have taken over the body of the six-eared macaque and was controlled by the demonic chi. My hands are stained with blood. In Lane Temple, I killed someone in front of Mavarakana. A disciple like this. How can I become a Buddha? This body is not mine. This body is not mine. Gift it, and thank you for all your support. Chapter 47-42. Now, Xiaohua understood why the six-eared macaque did not use its skill to save Chunzong. It was because the six-eared macaque did not have the time to do so. It was also because the six-eared macaque wanted to die. I knew it, Xiaohua exclaimed. The most troublesome method may not be the most satisfying, but it is effective. Ananda is very different from before. Amipa, Chuanzong said. You are six-eared macaque, and six-eared macaque is you. Ananda is you, and you are Ananda. Jinkong is you, and you are Jinkong. There is no time in cultivation, no matter how many lives it is. The first life is not the beginning, and the ninth life is not the end. Since you have made your choice, there will be an inevitable result. This may be fate, or it may be a predestined fate. Fate may not be a good thing, and predestined fate may not be a bad thing. As long as you have Buddha in your heart, you will be Buddha at any time, and you will be Buddha everywhere. Amipa, six-eared macaque's eyes suddenly teared up. He knelt in front of Chuanzong and cowed out. Thank you for your guidance, master. It's not guidance. It's just some enlightenment. Chuanzong helped six-eared macaque up and said, My journey to the west has just begun. There is still a long way to go. There are not many bodhisattvas on this path. I am very happy to have you by my side. Looking at the two of them, Xiaohua's hatred for six-eared macaque faded. He handed the jade bottle to six-eared macaque and said, Jinkong, Chuanzong begged me to give you this pill. This time, I am willing to give it to you. Thank you, Bodhisattva. Six-eared macaque shook his head. I may not hate this body anymore, but I don't have to fix it. This broken body maybe is also a form of cultivation. Up to you. Xiaohua nodded and handed the jade bottle back to Chuanzong. Chuanzong, as you can see, the three continents today are different from the three continents in the past. Your journey to the west is different from that of nirvana. There are too few people who can protect you, and I am busy trying to kill these strange insects. I have no time to worry about your safety. How about this? This old man knows where the Western Buddhist site is. You just have to come with me. Thank you for your kindness, Bodhisattva. Chuanzong said with a smile. I'm following Bodhisattva. That's Bodhisattva's way of seeking sutras, not mine. Only the way I walk on my own feet is the true way of seeking sutras. Forget it. Xiaohua understood Chunzang's stubbornness. Thus he nodded and said, If you want to leave by yourself, then let a Fortune Gate disciple escort you. Chuanzong rejected Xiaohua's good intentions again and said with a smile, Bodhisattva, if it is protected by a Fortune Gate disciple, then was it a Fortune Gate disciple who begged for the scripture, or was it a disciple who begged for it? Xiaohua wanted to speak again. He even wanted to ask the disciples of Shanhua continent who believed in Buddhism to become Chuanzong's disciples. However, when he thought about how he had asked Yuan Tongtian to protect Chuanzong, he realized that he had caused so much karma and even caused Yuan Tongtian to lose his life. He really did not dare to interfere with the karma of Buddhism. However, Xiaohua still earnestly advised, Chuanzong, these world-exterminating mayflies are too powerful. They died unfortunately before Xiaohua could finish. Chuanzong put his palms together and said with a smile, Amipa, Bodhisattva, if this disciple is afraid of these difficulties, how can this disciple seek the scripture from the West? How can this disciple cross the Eastern Sea and Western Sea to seek the scripture? All right. Seeing that Chuanzong had made up his mind, Xiaohua nodded and took out another shaman puppet, throwing it to the six-eared macaque without even looking at it. He then raised his voice and asked Huang Tong, fellow Taoist, did you see any clues? The six-eared macaque did not want to take the shaman puppet, but after seeing Xiaohua throw it to him, he completely ignored him. He helplessly accepted it and put it away. Bodhisattva, on the mountain path, Zhang Jie was still entangled by the two world-exterminating mayflies, unable to free himself. When he heard Xiaohua's words, he subconsciously begged, Elder, don't always protect Master Ah. Please take pity on this disciple Ah. This disciple has not eaten a full meal for several days. Right now, I'm so hungry that my chest is sticking to my back. I don't have any strength. Boom, boom, boom. Following Zheng Jie's words, 2 lightning bolts struck the world, exterminating mayflies. Buzz, buzz. The 2 strange insects suddenly swelled up and then exploded uncontrollably. Phew! Zheng Jie let out a long breath, leaped into the air, and smiled at Xiaohua. Greetings, Bodhisattva Guanyin. Xiaohua looked at Zheng Jie and saw that he was also injured, then threw him a bottle of pills, then looked at Huang Tong, who was still fighting with the mayflies. Zheng Jie took the jade bottle, opened it, and did not consume it. Instead, he handed it to the 6-eared macaque and said, I didn't expect you to be so desperate. This pill is for you. Senior brother, keep it for yourself. The 6-eared macaque shook his head and refused. Take it or leave it. If you want in the future, I don't want to give it to you. Zheng Jie took the jade bottle and asked with concern, Master, are you okay? Xuanzang nodded. I'm fine, you've worked hard. It's not hard at all. As long as Master is safe and sound, this disciple can rest assured. Zheng Jie patted his chest and said solemnly, But don't worry, Master, as long as this disciple is here, whatever strange insects are not a problem. However, as Zheng Jie spoke, he looked in Huang Tong's direction with lingering fear. Woo! Huang Tong flapped her wings, and boom, boom, boom. Sound of explosions rang out. The mayflies several li away were reduced to dust. Then, Huang Tong's body shook, and she landed in front of Xiaohua. There was a trace of confusion on her face. She shook her head and said, I don't have any good ideas for now. If you have a way, kill these strange insects first. Okay. Xiaohua agreed, and took out the Kunlun mirror, releasing the Fortune Gate disciples from Shenhua mainland. Watching the Fortune Gate disciples kill the mayflies, Huang Tong said, These mayflies are very strange. They don't have souls. They're like a kind of child insect in the mystic origin space. However, if they're child insects, they should be empty shells or shadows. They shouldn't be so solid. Of course, if it is as you said, and these mayflies come from the upper realm, then these child insects might be different from the mystic origin space. Moreover, if they're child insects, there should be a mother insect among them. But I've already checked, there is no trace of a mother insect. Without the mother insect's command, how can these child insects move on their own? Xiaohua's eyes lit up when he heard this, and he hurriedly asked, In the mystic origin space, what do the mother insect and the child insects look like? Give it a tip, and thank you for all your support. Chapter 4743. The so-called mother insect is the real insect race. Huang Tong explained, This mother insect has an unusual ability. It can't give birth to children, but it can give birth to children that are exactly the same as itself in a special place. Oh, it's similar to Confucian calligraphy. However, these children are not real, but a kind of illusion or empty shell. When there are many children, the mother insect will lead these children out, just like there are so many mother insects. When the children attack the enemy, the mother insect will hide in the middle of the children and give the enemy a fatal blow. Of course, because these children are illusions, they don't have any souls. That must be it. Xiao Huan nodded. I also don't believe that there are living things without souls in this world. Furthermore, if these mayflies came from the upper realm, they definitely wouldn't fly into the 3 continents in groups. It could only be one or a few mother insects that broke into the upper realm and then gave birth to so many child insects in the void. And so killing these children is simply treating the symptoms and not the root cause. Huang Tong continued, Only by finding the mother insect and killing it can we eliminate the mayflies from the root. AI, don't talk about treating the symptoms and not the root cause. Xiao Hua pointed at the Fortune Gate disciple who killed the mayflies and said, My Fortune Gate disciple is so brave, but he can't even deal with these children. Now, I can't even think of a way to treat the symptoms. Huang Tong seemed to have a plan. He smiled and said, If I'm not wrong, if the 3 continents want to avoid this disaster, Not only can we go to the Dawn Rain continent to find the heterogeneous true Qi, we can also find the mother insect in the void of the three continents. Both methods have to be carried out at the same time. You're right. Xiao Hua narrowed his eyes and thought for a moment, then replied, if we go to the Dawn Rain continent, the Immortal Palace, Thunder Temple, Great Sage Hall, and Dragon Island will look for the mother insect in the three continents. There's no need to jump to conclusions. Huang Tong was a little worried. If there's an immortal array outside the three continents, my space escape technique may not be able to pass through the realm barrier. And I know. Xiao Hua comforted. When this matter is over, we will go and verify it. Several days later, the Fortune Gate's disciples killed all the mayflies in the vicinity of the mountain ridge. Xiao Hua also learned from Zhen Jie that Chun Zhang's group's encounter with the mayflies was purely an accident. The mayflies were merely here to devour the spiritual energy around the mountain ridge and coincidentally ran into Chun Zhang's group, who were passing by the mountain ridge. Moreover, as soon as the mayflies appeared, Zhen Jie was about to fly away with Chuanzong. However, Chuanzong insisted on leaving by himself, which was why he was surrounded by the red mayflies. Xiao Hua angrily scolded Zhen Jie while at the same time warning Chuanzong. Although the road must be walked step by step, but when encountering danger, one must also jump and walk. Chunzong saw how much the six-eared macaque had sacrificed for him, so he agreed to let Zhen Jie take him away if they were ever in danger again. Only then did Xiao Hua feel at ease and allow Chuanzong, Zhen Jie, and Jinkong to continue their journey. After sending Chuanzong away, Xiao Hua took out the Kunlun mirror and collected the Fortune Gate's disciples. He then narrowed his eyes and thought for a moment before saying, fellow Taoist, you said before that if you want to go to the 10,000 demon realm, you need to know the 10,000 demon realms realm dimension, or aura. I don't have the 10,000 demon realms realm dimension here, nor do I have the aura of the 10,000 demon realm, but I do have an aura similar to the 10,000 demon realm here. I wonder if it will be useful. Huang Tong himself was not sure. He smiled and said, I can't answer you now. I have to look at your so-called aura similar to the 10,000 demon realm's aura, then find the edge of the three continents that is closer to the 10,000 demon realm. The aura of the 10,000 demon realm's realm is easy. Xiao Hua smiled and said, fellow Taoist, please enter the jar. Okay. Huang Tong sensed Xiao Hua's mind and did not evade. His body was sent into the spiritual world inside the space by Xiao Hua. How is it? Xiao Hua's mind entered and turned into a jade archive. Xiao Hua looked at the surprised Huang Tong and smiled. Good. Huang Tong flapped his wings and praised. The spiritual energy here is so abundant, and the aura of all living things inside is very enjoyable. Our realm is the place I should come. Fellow Taoist, if you like it, you can come more often in the future. Jade Archive Xiao Hua nodded and said, I want to know what you mean. Haha. Huang Tong laughed and said, fellow Taoist, don't worry. I have already sensed this aura when I returned to the three continents that day. It is near the space where I met fellow Taoist. Really? Jade Archive Xiao Hua's face was full of surprise. He shouted in disbelief. Of course. Huang Tong nodded seriously and said, isn't fellow Taoist's luck the best in the world? Even the luck of a Confucian cultivator is a fart to fellow Taoist. Haha, just kidding, just kidding. Jade Archive Xiao Hua waved his hand embarrassedly and said, how about we return to that space now and confirm it again? I will listen to fellow Taoist's instructions. Huang Tong said, and followed Jade Archive Xiao Hua out of the spiritual world, directly tearing the space, using the space escape technique to come to the previously unformed realm. At this time, the realm had already begun to gradually recover, and Xiao Hua could not sense the existence of the space. After Huang Tong entered the space, he flew to a place, then flapped his wings, and strange runes appeared on his wings. These runes were like tadpoles, and also like flying shadows. They fell into the air and disappeared. Moreover, as Huang Tong continued to dance, the runes poured into the void like an endless river. After a full meal, Huang Tong's demonic body trembled slightly. Only then did the runes slowly diminish. Jie. Huang Tong let out a phoenix cry, and his other sharp claw flashed with a dazzling light, deeply piercing into the place where the runes poured in. Ka. The void was torn apart, and layers upon layers of destructive aura gushed out from the cracks. Xiao Hua's divine sense swept out, and he could already see that within the void cracks, there were strands of multicolored colors. As those colors fell into his divine sense, they transformed into scenes. Some were huge mountain ranges, some were deep wild forests, and some were flying spirits. It was actually 70% similar to the spirit world in the void. However, just as Xiao Hua was about to take a closer look, a dense pitch-black color surged out of the light and shadow, swallowing all the colors in an instant. Even an incomparably enormous force emerged from the spatial crack, forcibly sealing it. This is the power of the realm. Huang Tong explained, the 10,000 demon realm and the 3 continents are 2 different realms, and they are extremely far from each other. It is different from the Xianyuan space's realm connection. The realm passage I opened can't last long, and this realm passage is very fragile. I'm afraid only I can pass through it. Chapter 47-44. Xiao Hua pinched his chin, thought for a while, and said, from the current situation, we can basically confirm that the other side is the 10,000 demon realm. Also, we can confirm that you can use this passage to enter the 10,000 demon realm. Yes. Huang Tong nodded and said, however, I don't have much confidence in passing, maybe only 40%. Speaking of this, Huang Tong thought for a while and said, of course, if I return to your body and you use your space escape technique, you should be able to pass. However, this chance will be reduced to 30%. I understand. Xiao Hua nodded. Let's go back to Xiao Country first. When Xiao Hua returned to Xiao Country with Huang Tong, the Thunderbolt Immortal and Princess Qing were still waiting there. In order to avoid suspicion, Xiao Hua explained Xuanzang's situation in front of Princess Qing. Princess Qing knew that Xiao Hua let the 6-eared macaque go. When she heard it, her cherry lips curled up in disdain. She didn't understand why Xiao Hua didn't take revenge for Yuan Tongtian. However, when she heard that the 6-eared macaque was tormented by karma and even had to give up his physical body, she came to a realization. She looked at Xiao Hua's smiling face and fell into deep thought. After Xiao Hua finished telling the truth, he sighed, if Zixiao wasn't beside me that day, I would have done it long ago. That way, I could have taken revenge, but now speaking of this, Xiao Hua's heart moved, and he stopped listening. Astonishment flashed across his eyes as he recalled what the Mahavarakana rebirth, the Dipankara Archaic Buddha rebirth, and the Methya Buddha rebirth had mentioned about the Buddha kingdom and the holy light world back in the Thunder Sound Temple. He wondered if Ananda, who was the wisest in Buddhism, had anything to do with this matter. After all, Ananda, who reincarnated as the 6-eared macaque, was also brought from the Dawn Rain continent to the 3 continents. As for later, when Xiao Hua killed the profound armored Penahorn dragon, he actually saw a trace of holy brilliance in the dragon's body. Xiao Hua had never seen this brilliance before, and the holy horn of the profound armored Penahorn dragon was different from the horn of the Pegasus. Xiao Hua didn't know if this holy brilliance belonged to the holy light world, but because Xiao Hua didn't want to get involved in the grudge between the Buddha kingdom and the holy light world, he kept this matter to himself. Maybe Princess Qing didn't notice Xiao Hua's actions, but Xiao Hua's actions aren't wrong. Xiao Hua thought for a moment and secretly laughed. Could it be that the Peniceratops or Ananda are also related to the holy light realm? Damn it, what does this have to do with me? Let the Mahavarikans Buddha world. Hua, Taoist. Please speak. Taoist smiled and said, how can I not listen to the sect master's orders? Please head to the Great Holy Hall, Thunder Temple, Dragon Island, and Immortal Palace. Inform them of the insect queen's whereabouts, and have them divide their forces to search for the insect queen. Xiao Hua smiled and nodded. Of course, this isn't the most important thing. The most important thing is to invite the heaven-defying lightning phoenix, the Scholar Palace's master, and the others to my fortune gate. I have something important to discuss with them. But Taoist scratched his head and said, I know Taoist matter is important, but I don't know where these places are. I'll go with you. As soon as the Thunderbolt Venerable finished speaking, Princess Qingqing immediately spoke up. Shut up. Taoist scolded. I didn't ask you to speak. However, after Taoist finished speaking, he exclaimed in shock, What? You want to accompany me to the Immortal Palace? Aren't you afraid of being captured by Old Man Gauchen? Princess Qingqing's face was a little pale. In truth, the Immortal Palace was the place she didn't dare to mention. Immortal Emperor Gauchen's Emperor's aura was like a mountain pressing down on her heart. How could she dare to meet Immortal Emperor Gauchen? However, when she heard Taoist speak, she couldn't help but interrupt him. It was as if it was a wonderful thing to be able to help Taoist. Oh, you want to accompany Taoist to the Immortal Palace? Xiao Hua looked at Princess Qingqing in surprise. After all, in his eyes, Princess Qingqing was a person who sought benefits and avoided harm. Why would she walk into a trap for no reason? Xiao Hua couldn't help but think about the little abacus in his heart, wondering if Princess Qingqing had any other plans. After Princess Qingqing finished speaking, she felt a little regretful. However, when she saw the suspicion in Xiao Hua's eyes, she steeled her heart and looked at Taoist. Without any hesitation, she nodded and said, Of course. Young miss, Yu Xiaojing hurriedly advised, you could go to other places, but the Immortal Palace. Humph, what's wrong with the Immortal Palace? If that old Gauchen dares to touch a single hair of Qingqing, I will tear down the southern heavenly gate for him. Without waiting for Yu Xiaojing to finish, the Thunderbolt Immortal coldly snorted and said, Let's go, Qingqing. This is urgent. Follow me to the Immortal Palace. Yes, this concubine is at your command. Princess Qingqing's face was flushed with excitement as she replied without hesitation. This servant will accompany Miss. Yu Xiaojing could only say in a low voice. All right. Xiao Hua looked at Princess Qingqing and Yu Xiaojing and nodded. Then I'll have to trouble Princess Qingqing to accompany Dao Friend Lei to these places. After all, fellow Taoist Thunder has never been to these places. Then, Xiao Hua looked at the Thunderbolt Immortal, who was becoming more and more human, and said, Fellow Taoist Thunderbolt, this is an urgent matter. Go and come back quickly. I will wait for your good news at the Creation Taoist Palace in the Yuanxi Reef Plain. All right, I'll leave now. The Thunderbolt Immortal said as he grabbed Princess Qingqing and Yu Xiaojing in his hand. Lightning flashed around his body as he rushed into the sky and flew towards the Earth Fire Wind Lightning Palace. Seeing that the Thunderbolt Immortal had disappeared, Xiao Hua smiled and said to Huang Tong, If Zixiao was here, she would be happy to see the changes in Princess Qingqing. Huang Tong nodded and said, In my opinion, although this Princess Qingqing had a lot of bad things and may have even done some outrageous things, under the influence of the Thunderbolt Immortal, it is not impossible for her to change for the better. Moreover, in the hundreds of thousands of years in the Xinyuan space, I have seen many foreign races, even more so than Princess Qingqing. In the end, among them, there were also those who sacrificed their lives for the sake of their race. I hope that what I saw is the truth. Xiao Hua sighed. I really don't dare to believe the people of the Immortal Palace. Xiao Hua released his divine sense again and scanned the Xiao country on the ground. Give it a reward, and thank you for all your support. Chapter 47-45. At this time, the Xiao country was already sparsely populated. The deadline that Xiao Hua had instructed Fu Jiwen to send a message had passed, but there were still not many people who agreed to go to the Shenhua continent. Xiao Hua took out the Kunlun mirror and collected all the commoners who were willing to relocate. He then ordered the Fortune Gate's disciples to line up and collect all the commoners. After that, he flew several thousand li away without looking back. He stopped in midair and looked at the Shao country in the distance with a hint of nostalgia. Don't be too harsh. Huang Tong felt Xiao Hua's sadness. He smiled and said, these people have their own lives and have the right to choose. Although the Shenhua continent is good, in their eyes, the Shao country is a paradise. Of course, I'm not discouraging you, but the remaining people of the Shao country don't particularly believe in you. You don't have to think about them. After all, Huang Tong had not lived in the 4 continents for hundreds of thousands of years. His words and word were different from Xiao Hua's. Xiao Hua gradually got used to it. He smiled bitterly and said, I know what you said. I know, but I feel that I haven't given them enough. Haven't I treated them well enough? The Shao country may be attacked by the strange insects in the future. Why can't they listen to me and go to the Shenhua continent? I don't ask them to believe in me or Taoist Shao. I just want them to live peacefully, because they don't fly as high as you, don't see as far as you, and don't have the strength to change their lives. Huang Tong replied, because in their eyes, the current life is the best life. The current life is the most comfortable life. The so-called disaster of the strange insects in your eyes is imminent, but 100 years in their eyes is a lifetime. Xiao Hua slowly turned his head, as if he had given up something. He said slowly, I am human. They are human too. I can't force them. I can't force my world on them. This is fate. That's right. Huang Tong looked into the distance and said faintly, that day when I left Yi Jian, he asked me the same thing. He felt that he had already treated me very well, and I had helped him a lot. He couldn't bear to leave me and begged me not to leave him. However, you and everyone else are here. Fellow Taoists, this is my home. No matter how good the mystic essence space is, it's still a foreign land. I can't always drift outside, right? That's right. In a foreign land, on a different path, those who don't return home are those without roots. Xiao Hua also sighed in his heart. The 3 continents were not his home. The Dawn Rain continent was not his home, and the Great Desolate continent that he had visited before was also not his home. His home. When would he be able to return? Let's go. We'll return to the Yuanxi Reef Plains. That could be considered our temporary home. Xiao Hua lightly smiled, hiding his homesickness deep within. Let's go. Huang Tong let out a long cry and flapped her wings. She tore open the void once more and flew in. When Xiao Hua and Huang Tong flew out of the void, they were in the West Sea. Xiao Hua naturally could not distinguish between north and south. He looked around and simply sent out the message talisman. Then he asked Huang Tong, I've always wanted to ask you if you're talking about walking in the void, this Xiao and other cultivators could do it too. However, this Xiao saw that the void you're traveling in is not the void we saw before. Of course. Huang Tong smiled and said, this void is not the void we saw before. Moreover, the profound meaning of space escape is different from teleportation. The mystic essence space is a beehive-like world. The profoundness of the study of space laws is far from what the 4 great continents can compare to. Of course, as a different world, the mystic essence space cannot be compared to the 4 great continents in many aspects. That Yi Jian ascended to, the celestial realm? Xiao Hua suddenly asked. This. Huang Tong hesitated and shook her head. I don't know. After all, I'm not a mystic cultivator in the mystic essence space, and I'm only a supporting character. Xiao Hua nodded and asked again. Also, from what you said, you seem to be able to occasionally receive insights from my cultivation in the mystic essence space. Indeed. Huang Tong smiled and said, it is also because of your insights that Yi Jian was created. In his heart, I'm afraid you are the same as Master. Now that I think about it, these insights should have been when you were advancing and communicating with the heavens and the earth, allowing me to sense them in the other world, right? That's not right. Xiao Hua said in bewilderment. When my strength improved the fastest, I was still in the heavenly prison. How could you receive my insights? I don't know. Huang Tong shook her head and said, anyway, I told Yi Jian that this is what Taoist Master Xiao said. Oh, you told him my name? Xiao Hua asked curiously. Of course, Huang Tong said proudly. You and I are one. I am teaching on behalf of you. How could I not tell him your name? Don't worry, Xiaohua, Taoist Master Xiao, is definitely engraved in his heart. What about the name Huang Tong? Xiaohua asked thoughtfully. Was it also given by you? Yes. Huang Tong smiled and said, previously, I was still ignorant and did not understand these things. When I received your insights, I also used the demon bee souls in the Xianyuan space to cultivate and gradually gain consciousness. Over time, I also felt that I should have a name, so I gave myself the name Huang Tong. Wonderful. Xiaohua clapped and said, You are my phoenix dharma body, named Huang Tong. The heaven-defying thunder phoenix is my phoenix avatar, named Feng Wu. Isn't that the concept of phoenix wudong? While speaking, Xiaohua's expression changed. He looked in a direction and said with a smile, That's right. In just a few days, he has already set up such a tight defense in the West Sea. He is really much stronger than me. Everyone has their own talent, but many people don't know what their talent is in their entire life. Huang Tong did not transform into a human form. She still displayed her demon body that was hundreds of feet long. Looking at the vast West Sea, she said lightly. Xiaohua asked with interest, Then what is this Zhao's talent? Good luck. Huang Tong blurted out without any hesitation. Ha ha. Xiaohua laughed heartily. He urged his figure to fly somewhere, and his complacent voice reverberated in the air. Good luck is also a talent. This can't be helped. Hearing that the Fortune Gate's 10th old master had returned, Lu Yi and the other disciples were overjoyed. Under the lead of Taoist Yun and the celestial being, they flew out of the Yuanxi Reef to welcome him. Seeing that Huang Tong and Feng Wu were almost exactly the same, the group of disciples was dumbfounded. However, they soon realized that Huang Tong's aura was completely different from Feng Wu's. Other than a kind of domineering arrogance, there was a kind of naked, killing intent and coldness. It was comparable to the Fortune Gate's 9th old master. Archdevil Sure, give it as a reward, and thank you for all your support. Chapter 47-46. Although Reverend Yun and the celestial being had received Xiaohua's message in their minds, they knew that this phoenix celestial body with a strange aura was Xiaohua's incarnation, and they also knew that he came from another world. After greeting each other, Reverend Yun stood with a smile on his face, while the celestial being looked at Huang Tong from head to toe and asked curiously, Earlier, fellow Taoist Xiao said that your cultivation base might be too weak, but who knew that you were so powerful? Why don't you have a competition with me? Huang Tong looked at the celestial being, not knowing whether to laugh or cry. They were both Xiaohua's incarnations, and they were the same person. Why would they compete with each other? Of course, when Xiaohua told Huang Tong that the celestial being did not have a complete human nature, Huang Tong came to his senses. He thought for a while and said with a smile, If so, let's have a competition. If you lose, you have to give me your position as the 8th master. All right. The celestial being nodded without hesitation and asked, What if you lose? Do you even need to ask? If I lose, I will give my position as the 10th sect master to you. Huang Tong also answered firmly. Come, come, come. The celestial being rushed up into the sky and shouted, Fellow Taoist Xiao, you help us. Xiaohua was speechless, but when he saw that Reverend Yun was also interested, he said, Let fellow Taoist Xiao help you. No problem. Reverend Yun was also thinking about something after a long period of silence. My sons, the Western Ocean is a vast place, and now it belongs to our Fortune Gate. You should beat the drums and cheer for our 8th master and 10th master. The disciples who came to greet them all had cosmos bags in their hands. When they heard this, they were all overjoyed. They took out war drums and other things from their bags and rushed up into the sky to beat the drums. Good, good. Xiaohua was happy to see this and let his disciples do as they pleased. However, Xiaohua's mind was not on the battle between the celestial being and Huang Tong. He looked around and did not see Princess Zixia and Lao Ai. Of course, He wouldn't fly over with the other disciples to join the fun. Seeing that Xiaohua was looking for someone, He understood and hurriedly said with a smile, "Master, ever since you left, Princess Xixia and Bian began to organize all the information in Jiaxing Lu, hoping to find some clues about the four great continents. I have already reported the news of your return to Princess Xixia. She should be out soon." Xiao Hua felt quite gratified and nodded as he said, "It's been hard on them." "Oh, that's right. Lu Yi, pass down the order first. Have the 300,000 disciples ready to go." "Yes, master." Lu Yi didn't ask for the reason at all. After agreeing, he issued the order. "Darling Xiao." At this moment, a concerned voice came from afar. Wasn't that Princess Xixia who was flying over? "Xixia, thank you for your hard work." Xiao Hua's silhouette flickered, and he immediately landed beside Princess Xixia. However, he didn't make things difficult for Princess Xixia. He only smiled and looked at Princess Xixia. He didn't extend his hand. Seeing that Xiao Hua respected her, Princess Xixia was even happier. She hurriedly asked, "Where's the Grand Mist ancestor? Is he plotting something?" She then looked at Gao Tian and asked curiously, "When did the heaven-defying lightning phoenix come? Why is he fighting with the Devis? Where's the Fortune Gate's 10th master?" Xiao Hua pointed at Huang Tong and said, "Xixia, look carefully. This is not the Great Holy Hall's heaven-defying lightning phoenix, but our Fortune Gate's 10th master, Huang Tong." "Oh, is that so?" Princess Xixia exclaimed in surprise. "This concubine's cultivation is not high, but this Huang Tong looks exactly the same as the heaven-defying lightning phoenix." Roar! The Devis who were fighting suddenly roared and spat out a scarlet beam of light, forcing Huang Tong away. He then shouted, "Stop, stop!" Daoist Yun chuckled and said, "How can we stop? I am still waiting to see fellow Daoist Huang Tong be defeated and hand over his position as the 10th master to someone else." TCH. The Devis glanced at Daoist Yun and said in a serious tone, "Fellow Daoist Yun, are you stupid? He's already our Fortune Gate's 10th old master. Who would put his position in their eyes? I'm not going to be fooled. If I win, I will have to hand over my position as the 8th master to him. And if I lose, I will have to exchange my 8th master for his 10th master. This is a losing deal. I will not do it. I am smart enough to see through this guy's sinister intentions before the battle is over." "Ha!" Xiao Hua laughed and said, "Fellow Daoist Devis, Huang Tong is just joking with you. How can I mess up the arranged seats? Let's go. I will sit on the Fortune Gate's throne." "Darling Xiao, this concubine will make way for you," Princess Xixia said with a smile. "Not today." Xiao Hua thought for a moment and said, "I have killed the black armored Pentaceratops, nether demonic dragon spider, and Grand Mist ancestor. Maybe there are some things I need your advice on." Princess Xixia was shocked, but she asked first, "Darling Xiao, you're not injured, right?" "How is that possible?" Xiao Hua replied, "They are just two great sages. How can they injure a Taoist Grand Ascension stage cultivator? Don't worry. TSK, your little tail is sticking up again." Princess Xixia's eyes flashed as she whispered to Xiao Hua, following which Xiao Hua and the others entered the Fortune Dao Palace. Xiao Hua was the first to sit on the fortune throne. Then he slapped the throne. Rumble. Thunder rumbled as 9 other thrones that looked exactly the same appeared, lining up on the Fortune Dao Palace's high platform. However, although the thrones looked like they were still inside the Fortune Gates Palace, they had already disappeared into the void and covered a radius of several miles. Xiao Hua sat down and looked to his left and right. He rolled his eyes and said in a clear voice, "Fellow Taoists, my Fortune Gate has 10 patriarchs, and this Xiao is sitting alone in the center. The two sides are not arranged neatly. How about we do this?" As he spoke, Xiao Hua waved his hands, and the thrones that were arranged in a row in the void rumbled and gradually gathered together to form a ring. This ring was very strange. Although the two thrones had their backs facing the Fortune Gate's disciples, Lu Yi and the others could see the front of the thrones clearly. "Good," Reverend Yun praised, and his dragon body landed on one of the thrones. When Reverend Yun sat down, Lu Yi and the others saw that there was no difference between the size of Reverend Yun's throne and Xiao Hua's throne. "I'm here." The heavenly being looked to Huang Tong, afraid that Huang Tong would snatch the eighth master's position from him. So he shouted and landed beside Reverend Yun. Then Xiao Hua took out the Kunlun mirror and saw Daoist, Witch, and Archdevil Venerable Sure taking their respective seats. Give it a tip, and thank you for all your support. Chapter 47:47. Welcome, 10th Old Master. Lu Yi and the others didn't dare to delay. They bowed and shouted, "Disciples, please take the 10th Old Master to the Fortune Throne." "Haha, good. Huang Tong laughed happily. With a flap of his wings, he covered the entire Fortune Dao Palace and landed on the Fortune Throne opposite Xiao Hua. Xiao Hua looked at the empty thrones on the left and smiled. This old man has already sent the Lightning Reverend to inform the others. I believe it won't be long before the Fortune Gate's 10 Old Masters return. Princess Zixia sat on a jade chair below the high platform, with Bine accompanying her. Lu Yi and the other disciples cheered. "Congratulations, first Old Master. The heavens have blessed our Fortune Gate for 10,000 generations." "Good." Xiao Hua didn't want to disturb the disciples' happiness. He nodded and said, "Today, this old man will sit in the Fortune Dao Palace to welcome the return of 10th Old Master Huang Tong. Secondly, I would like to tell you all about the things I encountered in the current situation." Xiao Hua told them about how the Grand Mist Ancestor had joined hands with the profound armored Pentaceratops and the netherworld demonic dragon spider to ambush them. When the disciples heard this, they couldn't help but feel indignant. They knew better than anyone how much Xiao Hua had sacrificed for the survival of the three mainlands. Now, three venerable realm cultivators had schemed against him shamelessly. Xiao Hua finally said, "This time, it was really dangerous. If Huang Tong hadn't returned, this old man would have been in trouble. However, the profound armored Pentaceratops and the netherworld demonic dragon spider were killed, and the Grand Mist Ancestor's remnant soul escaped. They deserved it. This old man left the Thousand Demons' sacred grounds and went to the hidden immortal mainland Shi country. I have already told Fu Jiwen to announce this matter to the world. Where is Lu Yi? Disciple is here." Lu Yi hurriedly stepped out and bowed. "The Grand Mist Ancestor is sinister, but the Sky-Bearing Palace is innocent. No matter what, the Sky-Bearing Palace's disciples are part of our Dao sect. We can't let them wander freely in the West Sea and be attacked by those strange insects." Xiao Hua ordered, "You are my Fortune Gate's sect master's disciple. Your status is sufficient. Go to the West Sea's Sky-Bearing Palace personally. If they're willing to join my Fortune Gate, accept them. If they are unwilling to join my Fortune Gate, tell them to leave the West Sea and return to the hidden immortal mainland. After all, there are human cultivators there. As for the strength of the hidden immortal continent's Grand Mist Ancestor, this old man has already sent Fu Jiwen to pacify him." "Yes, disciple understands." Lu Yi accepted the order and hurriedly left with his disciple. After Lu Yi left, Xiao Hua looked around before speaking again. "Our Fortune Gate's 10th Old Master, Huang Tong, has returned. Not only has our Fortune Gate's 10th Old Master gathered here, he has also brought good news. That is, I and Huang Tong may go to the 10,000 Demon Realm through the space interface." When the disciples heard this, their faces were filled with shock, but in a moment, they were ecstatic. "Not bad." Xiao Hua looked at the joyful smiles on everyone's faces, and he was also very happy. He raised his voice and said, "In other words, all of my Fortune Gate's disciples can enter the Kunlun Immortal Paradise, and this old man will bring all of you out. Leave the three continents that have destroyed the world." However, after the Fortune Gate's disciples were ecstatic, they quickly calmed down. Wang Bianfei hurriedly asked, "Master, of course we can leave. But other cultivators, for example?" Wang Bianfei stopped here and didn't know how to continue. "For example, who?" The hidden immortal continents Confucian cultivators? The thousand demons sacred grounds demonic beast clans? The Buddhist sect in the Pure Land? Or the sky-bearing palaces Tao sect? At the end of the day, if Xiao Hua's strength was not outstanding, if the Fortune Gate's rise had not exceeded the Buddhist sects and Confucian demonic beast clans' expectations, if the three continents' conflicts had not accumulated to a certain degree, if the exterminating mayfly did not appear, the Fortune Gate's relationship with the Buddhist sect, Confucian cultivators, and demonic beast clans would not have eased to such an extent. Maybe the Fortune Gate's disciples were fighting with the Buddhist sect and Confucian demonic beast clans. First Old Master, what about the three continents' common people? Seeing that Wang Bianfei did not say anything, Princess Zixia stood up and asked in a low voice. Her pair of beautiful eyes stared at Xiao Hua, and no one knew what she was thinking. Xiao Hua's heart was somewhat agitated for no reason. He took a deep breath and said, "Previously, the Xiao thought that we could first go to the 10,000 demon world and then go from there to the Dawn Rain mainland. Once we got enough spiritual herbs from the Dawn Rain mainland, we could return the same way. This way, we could use the spiritual herbs to exterminate the mayfly. Moreover, this Xiao has the Kunlun Mirror and the Kunlun Wonderland, so it doesn't matter how many spiritual herbs I get. Unfortunately, nothing is perfect. The space passage from the 10,000 demon world to the Dawn Rain mainland is one way. As long as we return to the Dawn Rain mainland, we cannot return to the 10,000 demon world. Of course, there are other space passages from the Dawn Rain mainland that lead to the 10,000 demon world. But the three continents do not have the time to wait, and this Xiao also does not have the time to find another space passage. Therefore, even if this Xiao can go to the 10,000 demon world, it does not mean that this Xiao can find a way to exterminate the world-exterminating mayfly. Even so, this Xiao has finally found a way for our Fortune Gate's disciples to escape death. This Xiao goes to the 10,000 demon world, to the Dawn Rain mainland, and you can also live. You don't have to fight with the mayfly anymore. Of course, this Xiao said before that the thing that separates the three continents from the Dawn Rain mainland is an immortal array. This Xiao also thought of looking for clues, looking for a flaw to break this immortal array. But thinking about it, this immortal array was set up by the Upper Realms Almighty. Although there are some subtle flaws in the immortal array, these flaws are enough for even great sages of the demonic race and Taoism's grand ascension stage to escape with their lives. How can our mortal world's methods break this array? First Old Master, you are a little pessimistic, Princess Zixia said worriedly. Zixia, it is not that I am pessimistic, but you have not seen the methods of immortals. You have not seen the power of this immortal array. Xiao Hua did not hide anything and said, even someone as strong as Fairy Xingyu, an invincible existence in the three continents, is afraid of this immortal array and does not even dare to mention it. Someone as strong as Bei Ming, who is the cousin of the seven-colored sea god Seashell, is far stronger than the great sages of the super great sage temple. But he also fell into the immortal array's flaw, and now he is neither dead nor alive. This kind of immortal array is not something that our mortal world's cultivators can look up to. In particular, the four continents are definitely not ordinary places, and the one who set up this immortal array is definitely an immortal venerable or even an immortal king. Even if we ascend to the immortal world, we are just ordinary immortals. How can we compare to such an existence? Don't tell me that we have not ascended yet. If that's the case, Princess Zixia naturally did not think that Xiao Hua was exaggerating. She frowned and asked, our three continents are really in a dead end? Chapter 47-48. Not necessarily. Xiao Hua hesitated for a moment before continuing. Huang Tong thinks that there is only one true world destroying mayfly. The mayflies we've seen so far are just the larvae of the mother mayfly. Perhaps we can find the mother mayfly and kill it. If the mayfly can no longer reproduce, as long as we kill the larvae, the crisis of the 3 continents will be resolved. The 3 continents, 3 rivers, and 4 seas. How big is that? Xia sighed. How can we find the mother mayfly? Don't Confucian cultivators often say that as long as one works hard, an iron pestle can be ground into a needle? It's not impossible to give it a try. Xiao Hua's words were filled with sarcasm. However, Princess Xia didn't mind and continued to ask, Secmaster, let me ask again, how big is your Kunlun paradise? Can it hold more common people from the 3 continents? Hearing the word common people, Xiao Hua sneered. His heart ached, and the corner of his mouth curled into a sneer. Xia, you know about the Xiao country, right? When Princess Xia saw the sneer on the corner of Xiao Hua's mouth and heard Xiao Hua's question, she already understood what Xiao Hua wanted to say. She grew up in the immortal palace since she was a child. She learned the art of kings and read the customs of the people of the hidden immortal continent. How could she not know the ignorance of the common people? She sighed in her heart and nodded. Of course I know. The last time we left the Xiao country, we asked the lightning Taoist to help us bring the Xiao country's people into the Kunlun paradise. Xiao Hua said, but the result? 80% of the people entered the Kunlun paradise, and the other 20% were unwilling to leave. Just now, I told them that the Fortune Gates disciples will leave the Xiao country, and there will be no one to protect them, but they were still unwilling to leave. I feel that I have done a lot for them, but why don't they believe me? If the Xiao country is like this, then what about the Yu prefecture, the hidden immortal continent? How many of them are willing to listen to me? How many of them are willing to listen to my Tao Gates arrangements? Sect Master can ask the immortal emperors and the Mahavarokana world revered to take action. They are the absolute kings of the hidden immortal continent and the pure land of ultimate bliss. They might not necessarily not have spatial artifacts. Moreover, the mortals of the 2 continents will not disobey them. We can even ask the golden-winged rock and the heaven-defying thunder phoenix to command the demons of the 1,000-demon sacred realm to enter the Kunlun immortal realm. But there is no space passage to the 10,000-demon realm. Xiao Hua shook his head again. Huangtong space crack can only allow him and me to pass through. Other than entering my Kunlun immortal realm, the immortal emperor and the Mahavarokana revered Buddha have no chance to escape. Sigh, Sect Master. Princess Xia sighed and said, human nature is hard to fathom. If you're kind, you might be evil. If you're evil, you might be kind instead. Didn't the human race have a saying that goes, kind horses are ridden by people, kind people are bullied by people? However, Elder Sect Master, you are a high and mighty almighty. You must be more broad-minded than them. You must not be discouraged. You must give these common people a way to live. Sai, forget it. Xiao Hua waved his hand and said weakly, let's not talk about this for now. I'm just telling you the truth and letting you choose. I want to comprehend the space escape technique with Huangtong. I won't be leaving for a while. You all should think about it first. Okay, then I'll take my leave. Princess Xia knew that Xiao Hua was definitely not saying what he meant. His heart must be very conflicted, so she didn't say anything more. Master, the disciples will also take their leave. Wang Bianfei and the others looked at each other and also bowed and left. When everyone left, the celestial being shouted, fellow Taoist, our space is almost unlimited. Why don't we take in all the common people? We can take them away together. Absolutely not. Taoist, which shook his head, such a big move. The immortal emperor and the Mahavarokana revered Buddha will definitely know. At that time, we won't be able to leave. Although our space is big, we will only take in people who are fated. I will definitely not take in people who are unwilling to enter the space by force. Xiao Hua said coldly. At such a critical moment, it's already not bad that we can protect ourselves. As he spoke, Xiao Hua sat cross-legged on the throne of creation and whispered in his heart, fellow Taoist Huang Tong has returned. There are a lot of space laws and space escape techniques that can be taught. Let's hurry up and cultivate. It might be useful in the future. Good. When a celestial being and the other avatars heard this, they quickly calmed down. On the throne of creation, an inexplicable fluctuation came from Huang Tong's body and passed through the throne of creation to Xiao Hua and the other avatars. When this fluctuation had the same rhythm on everyone, all the thrones of creation transformed into 10 different spaces at the same time. These spaces were different in style, but the fluctuation was the same. The 10 spaces slowly rotated around the ring. In the end, they turned into light and shadow. It was impossible to tell which space it was and who was inside the space. After an unknown amount of time, the entire ring suddenly trembled a few times and stopped. The 10 thrones were still the same 10 thrones. However, on the thrones, there were either humans or demons. Each of them was trembling, as if the inexplicable fluctuation was still inside them. Ga. Outside the Fortune Palace, a joyful phoenix cry sounded. On one of the thrones, Huang Tong's wings flapped, and she immediately escaped from the light of the throne. Similarly, a clear Ga cry sounded, splitting the sky. It was almost exactly the same as the phoenix cry in the distance. Haha, so it's the first great saint of the Great Sage Hall. The heaven-defying Thunder Phoenix is back. Huang Tong's figure rushed out of the Fortune Palace and landed high in the sky. Looking at the black shadow in the distance, he laughed loudly. Boom! As Huang Tong's voice fell, several beams of starlight and moonlight fell from the sky. Amidst the starlight and moonlight, the phoenix parasol tree flashed like a pair of wings made of stars and moonlight. It whistled through the air. So you're the 10th master of the Fortune Palace? Feng Wu looked to Huang Tong, and an inexplicable feeling arose. A strange, ripple-like distortion flowed rapidly between the two demonic beasts. Feng Wu immediately understood where Huang Tong came from and sighed. When this saint asked fellow Taoist Xiao about it, fellow Taoist Xiao only smiled and didn't say anything. This saint didn't expect you to have such a deep relationship with this saint. This one is Huang Tong. Greetings, big brother Feng Wu. This kind of instinctive closeness, this kind of bloodline connection, made Huang Tong feel familiar with Feng Wu. He smiled and said, Chapter 47-49. Huang Tong? Feng Wu. Haha, it's indeed a phoenix falling from a parasol tree. Even our names match so well. It's really heaven's will. Feng Wu sighed. Yes, Xiao Hua had already flown out with the celestial beings. He looked at Feng Wu and Huang Tong with a smile and said, Back then, I didn't know how to condense a doppelganger and only used the Buddha's Vajra Dharma body to cultivate. But in the end, I actually formed a phoenix Dharma body. How interesting. Feng Wu smiled and said, Yes, if Huang Tong didn't fall in the other world, I probably wouldn't exist. No. Huang Tong shook her head and said, You are you, I am me. It's already been decided by heaven. Feng Wu looked at Huang Tong and said in surprise, Although you're considered a demon, you don't cultivate the power of the stars and moon? Then where did you ascend to? Yes. Huang Tong nodded. I'm walking another path of cultivation of the demon race. I use 10,000 souls to build my body and the power of space as my supernatural power. It's different from the cultivation of the stars and moon of the demon race of the 3 continents. As for ascending, I haven't thought about it. Previously, Fairy Xing, you said. Xiao Hua interrupted. In the demon realm, there are demon clans who cultivate the power of the stars and the moon, or condense demon cores, or cultivate souls. It seems that there are many different kinds of demon clans. That's good. Feng Wu already understood. She stretched out her wings and formed a big hand and said, When the time comes, we'll break the starry sky together. It's a deal. Huang Tong wasn't used to transforming into a human form. At this moment, she also stretched out her big hand and touched Feng Wu's big hand. Xiao Hua looked behind Feng Wu and asked curiously, Sage Feng, where's Thunderbolt Immortal? Thunderbolt Immortal? Where is he? How would I know? Feng Wu replied in confusion. Oh, Xiao Hua raised his eyebrows and said with a smile, So Sage Feng wasn't invited by Thunderbolt Immortal? Of course not. Feng Wu replied. I was entrusted by you and sneaked into the depths of the great sage hall. Only after this saint had gone through all the hardships and dangers did this saint realize that the great sage hall was the most mysterious place of the 3 continents. The starry skies within recorded the secrets of the 3 continents for who knows how many years. Of course, the deeper you go into the great sage hall, the more dangerous it is. Even with this saint's ability, I am unable to reach the deepest part of the great sage hall. Who knows what strange things are inside? In that case, Feng Sheng has gained something? At this point, Xiaohua was no longer too interested in Feng Wu's news. It's hard to say. Feng Wu shook his head. I only obtained it by chance. I don't know if it has anything to do with the 4 continents or the immortal array. Phoenix Sage, please speak, Xiaohua asked. But before Feng Wu could say anything, a thunderous rumble came from where Feng Wu came from. The Thunderbolt Sage arrived with Princess Qingqing and Yuxia. He saw Feng Wu from afar and shouted, Feng Sheng, why are you here? If the North Sea Dragon King hadn't told me, I would have flown to your great sage hall. North Sea Dragon Palace? Xiaohua was taken aback. Fellow Taoist Thunderbolt, why are you there? I went to Blackwind Ridge first. From there, I went to the Great Snow Mountain. Then, I found Mithril Buddha and went to the Earth, Fire, Wind, Lightning Palace near the Great Snow Mountain. From there, I went to the Heavenly Palace's southern gate. The Thunderbolt Sage answered concisely. I didn't even see the southern gate. I had the palace guard report to the Scholar Palace's master that you had urgent matters to discuss with him. It seems. Scholar Palace had just returned to the Lingyun Palace. I didn't see him either. I knew that the Immortal Palace's time was different from the 3 continents. So, I hurriedly used the Southern Gate's passage to rush to the North Sea Dragon Palace. Oh, so that's how it is. Xiaohua nodded. Was this your idea? What? Is there a problem? The Thunderbolt Sage whispered. This was Qingqing's arrangement. However, it was my idea not to enter the Southern Gate. If there's a problem, I'll beat her up. No. Xiaohua hurriedly advised. You did very well. That's good. The Thunderbolt Sage was very happy to be praised. He had Princess Qingqing and Yu Xiaojing return to the Fortune Gate first. He then looked around and asked, What's going on? It's understandable that Scholar Palace is late, but why is the little monk also late? Namo Mithril Buddha. Just as he was speaking, a ray of Buddhist light gently flowed across the horizon. When it descended, Namo Mithril Buddha stepped on a 9th grade Buddhist lotus and appeared from the Buddhist light. Greetings to everyone. Seeing one of the 3 Buddhist lords, although they knew that he had the same origin as them, the venerables did not dare to slight him. They all bowed in return. Namo Mithril Buddha, the venerable of the world's divine ability, is getting more and more powerful. Xiaohua laughed. Even I can't detect the venerable of the world's traces. AI, the venerable of the world sighed and said, Has the Bodhisattva noticed the abnormality of reincarnation? Of course. Xiaohua nodded. At present, these mayflies are just larvae. They don't have souls. All the creatures they devour, be it humans, demonic beasts, or dragons, can't enter reincarnation. The venerable of the world asked curiously. The Bodhisattva didn't seem to mention it to the Mahavarakana Buddha that day. Do you think the Mahavarakana Buddha will have a solution if I mention it? Xiaohua said meaningfully. Or do you think he didn't notice it? I don't know if the Mahavarakana Buddha noticed it or not. I just found it when I was passing by the South Sea. The venerable of the world said mercifully, I used Buddhist divine ability, but couldn't send them into reincarnation. That's why I was delayed and collected a lot of souls along the way. Bodhisattva, please help. Okay, Xiaohua agreed. The venerable of the world took out the Tree of 7 Wonders. As he waved it, Xiaohua also released the Netherworld Origin Force. The Tree of 7 Wonders actually sent out tens of millions of souls. After collecting the souls, Xiaohua asked again, the venerable of the world, presumably fellow Taoist Thunder has already told you what I mean. What do you think? What should your Shaolin Long Temple do? Isn't this venerable's idea the same as the Bodhisattva's? The venerable of the world laughed. This venerable is the future Buddha, Lord of Buddhism. It's impossible for me to abandon the Buddha Lord and the Bodhisattva of Shaolin Long Temple. It's even more impossible for me to abandon the Bodhisattva of the Pure Land World and care for myself. Even if this venerable dies, I will die with all living beings. Understood. Xiaohua nodded. The venerable of the world's idea wasn't out of his expectations at all. This sage doesn't have many children, and the demonic beasts under my command aren't many either. Feng Wu laughed. If fellow Taoist leaves, this sage will also take them away. Chapter 4750. Hee hee. The celestial being chuckled. Phoenix Sage probably doesn't know that the black armored Pentaceratops and the nether demonic dragon spider have been killed by fellow Taoist Xiao, right? Of course I know, Phoenix Wu replied. Fu Jiwen was the first to inform the Great Sage Hall. However, the demon domain of the two great sages has been taken over by the golden-winged Great Peng and the other three great sages. This sage has been in the depths of the Great Sage Hall all this time and did not pay attention to this matter. However, if nothing unexpected happens, the Thousand Demons' sacred realm will definitely fall into chaos. Fellow Taoist Xiao, you don't have to do this. Unfortunately, before he could finish his sentence, a pillar of overwhelming qi exploded high in the sky. Earth, fire, wind, and lightning faintly appeared. Then, the Literature Palace Master's figure turned into a huge, distorted light projection and shot down from the sky. Ha! The moment the Literature Palace Master saw Huang Tong, he immediately understood. He clapped his hands and laughed. Today, the Fortune Gate's Sect Master and the 10 Old Masters have gathered. Congratulations! Greetings, Literature Palace Master. Huang Tong saw that all his clones had returned. Every time he saw one of them, his heart would tremble. This was something he had never experienced in the hundreds of thousands of years in the mystic origin space. He couldn't help but feel his heart wet as he bowed. Let's go. Xiaohua looked at the changes in the sky after when Chu landed and said with a smile, a storm is coming. We will return to the Fortune Dao Palace to collect our clothes. Ha ha. The clones laughed and turned into light projections as they rushed into the Fortune Dao Palace. After the clone sat down, Xiaohua quickly recounted how he killed the two great sages of the Great Sage Hall and the Grand Mist Ancestor. He then looked at Wen Chu and said, it seems like Immortal Emperor Go Qin's 9 prefectures' grand formation didn't succeed. What about the 9 prefectures' cauldrons? Here, Wen Chu slapped the door and the 9 prefectures' cauldrons flew out and landed in front of Xiaohua. He said, the 9 prefectures' grand formation is definitely not something a mortal world cultivator can set up. Even though Immortal Emperor Go-chan was commanding and the Supreme Heavenly Mirror was the name, the 9 of us still couldn't work together. Just a slight difference caused the complete collapse of the 9 provinces' grand formation. Woo! Xiaohua opened his mouth and spat out a mouthful of innate true qi. The 9 continents' cauldrons entered his body, and he said, Old Gaochen really has a good idea. If I can't set up the 9 continents' great array, I will never be able to marry Princess Zixia. Now, even if I can't marry her, I will take away this Jiuzhou cauldron. We can't let Gaochen's evil plan succeed. Could it be that he's really in a desperate situation? Wen Chu asked in a low voice, unwilling to give up. Yeah, Xiaohua replied. Before you came back, I already told the disciples about this matter and let them make a decision. If they are willing, I will bring the entire Fortune Gate to the 10,000 Demon World or Dawn Rain Mainland. Today, I invited all of you here to discuss this matter and see what you think. Fellow Taoist Xiao, don't be in such a hurry. Feng Wu hurriedly said, this sage hasn't finished speaking yet. Oh, right. Sage Feng, please continue. Xiaohua came back to his senses and said embarrassedly, this Xiao was a little disheartened and forgot about this matter. Feng Wu waved his hand and took out a flat white bone. This white bone was dotted with specks of stars and moonlight. It looked very ancient. Everyone, please take a look. Feng Wu said, and spat out a beam of moonlight onto the white bone. Shua. The white bone immediately transformed into a picture of the 4 great continents. On this picture, there is a line of words for the location of the Western Sea. These words were also very strange. They weren't written in a language, but in the Dawn Rain mainland's Taoist language, the Buddhist sect's Sanskrit, and the demonic beast race's demonic language. Fortunately, Xiaohua was enlightened by the Shuo, one Jizi, so he could understand this line of words with just a glance. It was a couplet, 4 poems of elegance, 3 talents of heaven, earth, and man. Xiaohua was puzzled. He looked at Wen Shu, and Wen Shu was also puzzled. Wen Shu said, "We Confucian cultivators have a very famous couplet, 3 lights, sun, moon, and stars, for poems of elegance. What does this couplet mean?" Feng Wu shrugged and said with a bitter smile, "This saint also doesn't know. This saint only saw the picture of the 4 great continents and saw that the poem separated the Dawn Rain mainland from the 3 continents. I felt that it might be related to the immortal formation, so I hurried here. If it's useless, this saint will follow fellow Taoist Xiao back to the Dawn Rain mainland. This saint has nothing to worry about, so I can go anywhere." Wen Shu frowned, looked at Xiaohua, and said, "This couplet is different from the couplet that Confucian cultivators are familiar with. It's the 3 talents, heaven and man. Moreover, if it's a normal couplet, the 3 lights, sun, moon, and stars should be removed, and the 3 talents, heaven, earth, and man should be placed first. After all, Confucian cultivators take heaven, earth, king, family, and teacher as their leader. It's impossible to put heaven, earth, and man behind the poems of elegance." Boom! Wen Shu's words struck Xiaohua like a lightning tribulation. Xiaohua's body trembled as he flew up from the throne of creation and exclaimed, "Everyone! I seem to know something. What does fellow Taoist know?" "How come we don't know?" Wen Shu and the others were puzzled. Xiaohua didn't answer. Instead, he pinched the space between his eyebrows with his thumb and index finger. He narrowed his eyes and pondered for the time it took to brew a cup of tea. Then he opened his eyes and said with ecstasy, "Everyone, I know how to break the formation." Buddha Maitreya was most worried about the creatures of the 3 continents and couldn't help but ask, "How to break the formation? Tanyu, quickly say it." "Impossible," Celestial shouted. "We don't know." "How can you know?" "It's very simple," Xiaohua said with a smile. "Because this matter happened in the Dawn Rain mainland before you all appeared." "Fellow Taoist Xiao, quickly say it." Huang Tong also said happily, "At that time, I had some impression. I don't know if I can remember it." "No, you might not know." Xiaohua wasn't in a hurry to speak. Instead, he turned to ask Buddha Maitreya. Wen Shu and Taoist Master Yun said, "Do you all still remember how this Xiao found the formation core of the Great World Extermination War on the Great Wasteland mainland?" "Fellow Taoist, didn't you say that back then on the Dawn Rain mainland, there was a Buddha with a devil heart that attracted your attention? Only then did you think that the formation core of the Great World Extermination Formation in the sky was actually on the ground?" Celestial also asked curiously, "What does this have to do with the immortal formation? Could it be that the formation core of the immortal formation is also on the ground?" "That's right." Xiaohua clapped his hands and said, "The formation core of the immortal formation is not only on the ground, but also within the ink cloud black forest. It's on the heaven, earth, and mortal peaks of the Meng country's Taiching sect." "Heaven, earth, and mortal peaks? Isn't it just the heaven, earth, and mortal peaks?" Wen Shu suddenly realized. Chapter 4751. Xiaohua nodded and said, "That's right. The 3 talents means the 3 formations. The immortal formation is the overlapping of the Buddhist sect's Great Meru formation, the Tao sect's 5 elements annihilation formation, and the Demon Clan's Song of Time formation. Doesn't it correspond to the Heaven Peak, Earth Peak, and Human Peak? Didn't Hanju mention it before? The Taiching sect holds an immortal ascension assembly every 60 years. They invite some golden core disciples from the country of Shi, the country of Lian, and the country of Ming to the Taiching sect to learn from each other. While exchanging experiences, they fly and climb from the heaven peak, earth peak, and human peak to the ninth heaven. Who can climb the highest? Who will be the Immortal Ascension Assembly's Immortal Ascension Assembly? As for Hanju himself, he used the Buddhist sect's method to rush to the so-called ninth heaven on the heaven peak. Presumably, the heaven peak is the eye of the Buddhist formation. Because he used the Buddhist sect's method, he wasn't blocked by the Buddhist formation and was sent to the ink cloud black forest. Isn't this very similar to the Great Firmament Formation in the primitive continent? If nothing goes wrong, the Earth Peak and Human Peak are the eye of the Tao Sect Formation and the Demon Clan's formation. The so-called Immortal Ascension Assembly is actually attacking the immortal formation that separates the four great continents. Xiaohua's inconceivable idea sounded so reasonable in everyone's ears. After all, the Great Firmament Formation in the primitive continent was a clear proof. Since the heavenly demon of the transformation heaven could use the heaven peak to set up such a formation that couldn't be found, then the celestial venerables and immortal kings of the immortal world would also use the heaven peak, earth peak, and human peak to set up an immortal formation that separates the four great continents. Then, how do we break the formation? The Thunderbolt Immortal asked curiously. The demon venerable had devoured the devil formation's devil spirit. He smiled and said, "It's very easy to break the formation. The simple and crude method is to topple the heaven peak, earth peak, and human peak of the Taiching sect. Back in the primitive continent, when Di Ting used the Pangu axe to topple the heaven peak, didn't the Great Firmament Formation leak? Then it began to destroy the world. If we topple the heaven peak, earth peak, and human peak, won't the immortal formation begin to leak? Then the true chi of the Dawn continent can enter the three continents? I'm afraid it's not that simple." Now that Xiao Hua's thoughts were clear, all his thoughts were immediately clear. He narrowed his eyes and said, "Since there are three peaks, heaven, earth, and man, then the corresponding array eyes of these three peaks must have the effect of relying on each other for defense. If these three peaks are to be pushed down, they must be pushed down at the same time, just like laying down the 9 regions' great array. But I only have the strength of one strike of Pangu axe," Reverend Yin said with a wry smile. "So I'll need both fellow Taoists and I to attack at the same time. Little brother's demonic blade counts as one." Demon Sovereign Sure anxiously said, "My heaven and earth pagoda." When Chu hesitated for a moment, then shook his head and said, "I'm afraid the heaven and earth pagoda won't do." "That's easy," Xiao Hua laughed. "This Xiao's 5 elements wishful heavenly staff only lacks 2 magnets. This Xiao has long known that there is a magnetism in the dark world. And now I also know that there is a magnetism in the 10,000 demon realm. If I collect these 2 magnets, won't I be able to sacrificial refine the real 5 elements wishful heavenly staff? That is an ancient ferocious weapon. Although I didn't succeed in refining it when I was in the ruins, just by collecting it, I was able to cause a strange phenomenon. If I succeed in refining it, I'm afraid it won't be a problem to push down a mountain." At this time, Mithya Buddha of the world, who had been silent all this time, laughed and said, "Namo Mithya Buddha, the Tao sect, Buddhism sect, and Demon Clan have 30% of the immortal array. Why don't you use my Tree of 7 Wonders instead of the demonic blade? Isn't this neglecting the essentials?" "Oh, the Tree of 7 Wonders of the world has such an effect." Xiao Hua did not believe it. Mithya Buddha of the world said with a smile, "The power of faith and the power of reincarnation can transform into all kinds of existences. The power of mountains is naturally nothing difficult." "Good." Xiao Hua clapped his hands and said, "In that case, the heavenly peak will be handed over to the world. You are proficient in the Dharma of Buddhism, and you have the sacred weapon of Buddhism sect. You are the best person to crack the Buddhist array." After saying that, Xiao Hua looked at Reverend Yun and said, "Fellow Taoist Yun, you are a member of the Dragon Clan, and you have the dragon weapon of the Dragon God. You are the best person to crack the demon array. As for the Tao sect array, leave it to I. What about me? Reverend Thunderbolt jumped to his feet and said, I'm also a Mayana cultivator of Tao sect. I can also use the heavenly peak to push down the earth peak. Deal. Xiao Hua smiled and said, Fellow Taoist Thunderbolt, I will remember your kindness. In fact, the 3 peaks of heaven, earth, and man are just a speculation. Since it is an immortal array, it must not be that simple. It is impossible to break the immortal array by just pushing down the 3 peaks. I'll discuss this matter in detail when I return to Tai Ching's sect. Upon hearing this, Wen Chu clapped his hands and said, Every time we reach the end of the road, there is always a glimmer of hope. Who would have thought that an unavoidable calamity would actually reveal a glimmer of hope at this moment? The fairness of the heavenly Tao is also here. Yes, this is the heavenly Tao. Xiao Hua smiled. The sunshine of hope had blown away the gloom in his heart, and his heart was also bright. Bodhisattva, seeing Xiao Hua's joy, Mithra Buddha of the world said with a smile, There is no Bodhi tree, nor is there a mirror. The nature of Buddha is always pure, and there is no dust. Namo Mithra Buddha. Xiao Hua put his palms together and bowed. Thank you for your reminder, Buddha of the world. However, I am willing to sacrifice my Tao heart for the billions of living beings in the 3 continents. Namo Bodhisattva, the merciful Guanyin Bodhisattva. Mithra Buddha of the world recited the name of Bodhisattva, which was rare for him. Even I can't match Bodhisattva's compassion. Ha! Reverend Yin laughed and said, Fellow Taoist, you were forcing your disciples to make a choice just now, but you didn't know that your heart was also bleeding. Now that you have good news, shouldn't you tell your disciples about it? All right, Xiao Hua nodded. The situation has changed, and they will have more choices. Of course, I can't guarantee that the Great Holy Hall's clue is the key to breaking the formation. Moreover, I can't be sure that I can break the formation. All of this is still unknown, and they still need to make a choice. Xiao Hua sent a voice transmission to Wang Bianfei and the other personal disciples. Xiao Hua was a little surprised when Lu Yi, Zheng Hong, Fu Jiwen, and the others entered the hall. All of them bowed respectfully to the Fortune Gate's 10 masters sitting on the Fortune Throne, congratulating the Fortune Gate's masters. Seeing this, Xiao Hua smiled and said, Since my Fortune Gate's masters are here, how can this disciple not be here? As he spoke, he took out the Kunlun mirror and sent out Yuanya, who had been refining the Devil's Spear on the Shenhua continent. Without waiting for Xiao Hua to say anything, Louis warmly pulled Yuanya aside and explained the ins and outs of the matter. Yuanya was overjoyed when he heard this, and he kowtowed to the 10 masters again. Although it was Huang Tong's first time meeting Yuanya, he liked Yuanya's unruly nature. Huang Tong couldn't help but send a voice transmission to Xiao Hua, wanting to accept Yuanya as his disciple. Chapter 4752. He, my disciple is your disciple. There is no need to distinguish between them. Xiao Hua said in his heart, You can give me pointers if you want. There is no need for a master and disciple relationship. Huang Tong nodded, indicating that she understood. Xiao Hua looked at Lu Yi and Fu Jiwen again. Have you dealt with the sky-bearing palace's matters? Yes, master, Lu Yi hurriedly answered. The sky-bearing palace did not have many disciples in the West Sea. Other than a few loyal disciples and a few that master must kill, the rest have pledged allegiance to my Fortune Gate. This disciple won without much effort. Fu Jiwen also said, Disciple situation is similar to Lu Yi's. My Fortune Gate is like the sun in the sky, the leader of the Tao world. When Disciple told them about the Grand Mist ancestor's death, the sky-bearing palace's disciples scattered like monkeys. Most of them joined my Fortune Gate, and only a few chose to leave. Fu Jiwen then looked at Lu Yi, and the two of them exchanged a glance. Fu Jiwen added, Other than that, Disciple and Lu Yi did not find any trace of the Grand Mist ancestor's primordial spirit. At the same time, we sent disciples to follow the sky-bearing palace's disciples who left, but until now, there has been no news. Good. Xiao Huan nodded and ordered, since you want to kill the Grand Mist Ancestor, don't leave any traces behind. The Grand Mist Ancestor is only left with a wisp of remnant soul, and he can't possess ordinary cultivators. I'm afraid that he might have left a clone somewhere. Of course, it has only been a few hundred years since he escaped, so it's not possible for him to cultivate a clone. He might have other plans. In short, I'll leave this matter to you. Think of a way to kill him. Yes, disciple understands. Lu Yi and Fu Jiwen bowed respectfully. Also, Xiao Hua looked at Jiang Hong and asked, "What's the situation in the West Sea Dragon Palace?" Jiang Hong reported the situation in the West Sea Dragon Palace to Xiao Hua. Under Jiang Hong's iron fist and the Dragon Envoy's connivance, Jiang Hong had basically controlled the West Sea Dragon Palace, and the East Sea Dragon Palace's first prince and West Sea Dragon Palace's first prince were mere figureheads. However, Jiang Hong had received Lu Yi's message and knew that the Fortune Gate's disciples had another way out, so she hurried back to the Fortune Gate to wait for Xiao Hua's orders. "Since you've come back, you must have made your choice." Xiao Hua looked at Jiang Hong and Lu Yi meaningfully. "Yes, the disciples have already made some preliminary considerations." Fu Jiwen was the closest to Xiao Hua, so he took the initiative to speak first. However, he only spoke first. Unfortunately, Xiao Hua did not give him the chance and waved his hand and said, "You all don't need to talk about your plans for the time being. This old man has good news for you." Master. Fu Jiwen and the others were greatly surprised and asked, "Is there no need for us to choose? Making a choice is difficult, just like when I faced the six-eared macaque." Xiao Hua says with a smile, "However, there are countless choices in life, and every choice determines the path you want to take. Therefore, choice is necessary. How to make a choice without regrets is the most important." Speaking of this, Xiao Hua talked about the matter of Daybreak Continent's heaven, earth, and mortal peaks, and finally said, in other words, at this point, the three continents' doomsday calamity has new hope again. However, this hope is only a glimmer of hope. I can't guarantee that this glimmer of hope will illuminate all four continents. Similarly, I can't guarantee that I will be able to break the immortal formation. Therefore, your previous choice may change now. Yes, disciple understands. I will discuss it again later. Fu Jiwen nods, glances at Lu Yi and the others, and answers in unison. Master. Yuanya hears and says curiously, "Isn't Dai, from the 10,000 demon realm? Why didn't you tell her that you were going to the 10,000 demon realm?" "What do you think?" Xiao Hua asks with interest. Disciple doesn't know. Yuanya shakes his head, but disciple is afraid that master will forget Dyer. "So, I reminded you." Xiao Hua looks at Yuanya, but does not open his mouth to explain. When Xiao Hua knows that he can go to Daybreak Continent through the 10,000 demon realm, he has already considered how to pass through the 10,000 demon realm. He knows that there are two candidates in the 10,000 demon realm. One is the little white dragon, the other is naturally Dyer. Facing these two demon clans, Xiao Hua's choice is very clear. He first eliminates Dai. The reason is very simple, because of the 10,000 demon realm empress. The 10,000 demon realm empress is suppressed in Daybreak Continent. Although the demon clan suppressing her is also from the 10,000 demon realm, it is undeniable that Wolf Clan Dongshan he must have received help from other cultivators in Daybreak Continent. In particular, Dyer was also humiliated by human cultivators in Sky Patrol City. If Dyer returns to the 10,000 demon realm and tells the Demon King about the Empress, the Demon King will definitely try his best to go to Daybreak Continent. Xiao Hua does not dare to think about what will happen at that time. Realm War? Therefore, Xiao Hua still wanted to rely on his own strength to rescue the Empress of the 10,000 demon realm and help her capture Dongshan, of the Wolf Clan. This could also be considered as settling the karma of the 10,000 demon realm's Empress Xianwan in the Dawn Rain continent. However, when Xiao Hua released Yuanya, he already had some ideas. because he returned to Daybreak Continent, this time to save the 3 continents. He may not have the time to care about the grudges of the 10,000 Demon Realm Empress. Although he knows that the 10,000 Demon Realm Empress, Yuan, has been very kind to him, compared to the life and death of hundreds of millions of creatures in the 3 continents. Xiaohua can only put this kindness behind. Xiaohua even has a final plan. If he really can't topple the 3 peaks and break the immortal array, he can only rely on Dai or Xianwan to return to the 10,000 Demon Realm. At that time, only Xiaohua can return the favor to Xianwan and let her have no grudges against Daybreak Continent. Only then can he smoothly return to the 3 continents from the 10,000 Demon Realm. Master already has some thoughts. Xiaohua smiled. There is no need to tell Dai now. Jiang Hong. Disciple is here. Jiang Hong immediately understood Xiaohua's meaning and hurriedly bowed in agreement. Pass the order to disciple. Xiaohua ordered, but changed his words in a moment. No, you personally go and invite Xiao Bai to the Fortune Dao Palace. When Jiang Hong heard this, her expression was a little gloomy, and she bowed. Disciple understands. Disciple will go now. Louis, Xiaohua said again, before you have a choice, do your best to find traces of the Queen Mayfly in the 4 seas. If there is anything strange, don't let it go. Master, rest assured. Lu Yi bowed. Disciple received Senior Brother Fu's message and has already started. Good. Xiaohua nodded with a smile. At this time, Huang Tong asked in her heart, fellow Taoist Xiao, our disciples, why don't we divide them according to seniority? Fu Jiwen just called Lu Yi Senior Brother Lu, and now Lu Yi is calling Fu Jiwen Senior Brother Fu. When they address each other, it seems like they're trying to avoid this question. Chapter 4753. Xiaohua came back to his senses. He pondered for a moment and said to Lu Yi and the others, Master remembered that you all don't need to be ranked according to seniority for the time being. Before Master ascends, we will decide the senior brothers' positions. Now that our Fortune Gate's 10 masters are all here, you all should arrange your seats. Xiaohua's words startled all the disciples. After all, they had accompanied Xiaohua for tens of thousands of years. Today, they all understood the reason behind Xiaohua's words. Master, all the disciples knelt down and cowed out. Tears flowed from their eyes. Sooner or later, we will have to leave. Xiaohua's eyes were also wet. He flicked his sleeves and helped everyone up. Master is just greeting you all in advance. Moreover, Master doesn't have much time left. I still want to use the remaining time to resolve the crisis of the 3 continents. AI Master. Fu Jiwen sighed and kowtowed. As far as Disciple knows, Disciple didn't know before. Now that Disciple's cultivation is high and Disciple has met more Confucian cultivators, Disciple knows that after reaching the peak of 9th grade essence force, many Confucian cultivators will close their doors and refuse guests. They will rely on the will of the heavens to prepare for the tribulation. How about you? Even now, you are still wholeheartedly working for the survival of the billions of existences in the 3 continents. Take a look at the sovereigns. Immortal Emperor Go Chun, Virokana Revered Venerable. What are they doing? Not to mention, you are not a cultivator of the 3 continents. Don't think of Master as too noble. Xiaohua waved his hand and said, It is impossible to say that I didn't make any preparations. Moreover, Master has more confidence than others. That is why I have the spare time to do these things. As for whether Master is a cultivator of the 3 continents, it doesn't matter. Because this space is the 4 great continents. I am a cultivator of the 4 great continents. Finally, Xiaohua smiled at everyone and said, Master still has to discuss with your martial uncles how to break the seal. You all can go and do your own things. Yes, Master. Lu Yi and the other disciples didn't dare to delay and respectfully bowed and left. After the disciples left, Wen Chu said, Master Shaolei, because of the evil physique, the evil sovereign couldn't control the cauldrons and couldn't set up the 9 provinces grand formation. Now, with fellow immortal Huang Tong, this formation can be set up, right? This. Xiaohua was somewhat hesitant. After a moment, he said, "The 9 regions Great Array is very important to the hidden immortal continent, but compared to the immortal array, it is much lighter. Moreover, if the Great Array of the 9 states was set up, the space passage from the 1,000 Demons Sacred Realm to the 10,000 Demons Realm would be cut off. Also, I and Huang Tong have to comprehend the space law and the space escape technique. I'm afraid we don't have time to comprehend the secret techniques of the Confucian cultivators." Huang Tong heard this and asked Wen Chu about the array. She thought for a moment and said, "Let me see the secret technique of the celestial palace." That after Xiaohua took out the jade eye, Huang Tong looked at it and smiled. "Daoist Xiao, I think we should first try to understand the heart secret technique of the celestial palace. You and I are one, so it is easy to understand this technique. With this technique, we can share our understanding with all of you. Why not?" Sweat. Xiaohua didn't know whether to laugh or cry. "You and I are one. We are born to share our understanding. Why bother? Hee, Daoist Xiao, you should try it first." Huang Tong smiled and said mysteriously. After Xiaohua activated the secret technique that he had already comprehended, a moment later, a trace of understanding appeared on Xiaohua's face. He nodded and said, "I understand. The secret technique of the heavenly court is a kind of skill, and the sharing of our understanding is a kind of foundation. With this secret technique, not only can our minds be expanded, but it can also be closely integrated. In this mind, we can speed up the sharing of our understanding. It can be regarded as adding wings to a tiger. Yes, the space escape technique of the Xianyuan space is unique. It is not comparable to the 4 great continents. I can take advantage of this time to share this space escape technique with all of you." Huang Tong smiled and said, "And Fengwu can also share his understanding of the Star Moon Palace with I." "Good." Xiaohua clapped and praised. "Since that is the case, let's quickly start cultivating." As Xiaohua activated the Throne of Fortune, the 10 thrones once again roared and linked together in the void, forming a connected ring of light. Another 10 days later, outside the Yuanxi Reef Plain, a white dragon descended from the sky. It was Xiao Bai, who had received Xiaohua's order and had flown back from his training. Before Xiao Bai could land, a 9-colored rainbow shot out from the Fortune Taoist Palace, wrapped around Xiao Bai's body, and pulled him into the Fortune Taoist Palace. Little White Dragon felt as if his body was being pulled by a vast and invincible force. Light flashed in front of his eyes, and when he saw the 10 supreme cultivators sitting on the 10 fortune thrones on the high platform, a sense of reverence rose in his heart. He bowed respectfully and said, "Xiao Bai greets the Fortune Gate's masters." "Xiao Bai, get up. There is no need to be polite." Xiaohua waved his hand and helped Xiao Bai up. He smiled and said, "There are some friends you are familiar with, and some you are not. Let me introduce them to you." Xiao Bai was the closest to Daoist Yun, Daoist Witch, and Xiaohua. However, when facing Fengwu, Archdevil Shi, and Huang Tong, an inexplicable fear involuntarily rose in his heart. He obediently greeted the 9 masters one by one before standing below the high platform again. "Xiao Bai." Xiaohua glanced at the somewhat reserved Xiao Bai and said, "I called you here today to tell you that I have found a way to go to the 10,000 demon realm." "Ah, really?" Xiao Bai was overjoyed when he heard this. He shouted, "You found a spatial passage? If so, then can we return to the Dawn Rain continent?" "That should be the case." Xiaohua nodded, "But I am not very confident. Moreover, this spatial passage is temporary, so I cannot bring many people over." "I understand." Xiao Bai nodded. "I will enter the Kunlun paradise. Oh, if possible, I want to bring my bring them along." Xiaohua was speechless when he heard this. He said faintly, "I called you here today to ask about the situation of the 10,000 demon realm. I want you to be prepared to go with me and find the spatial passage to the Dawn Rain continent." Xiao Bai shrugged and said innocently, "Yes, big brother, I'm also willing to go with you to the 10,000 demon realm. I'm also willing to accompany you to find the spatial passage." I am even more willing to accompany you to the Dawn-Rain continent. However, now that the world-destroying mayfly has caused a disaster, the 3 continents are about to be destroyed. Even the old ancestor is a little abnormal. Others may not know, but how can I not know? Now that I have the opportunity, even if I don't care about myself, I can't not care about them. Besides, Big Brother's Kunlun paradise is huge. It doesn't matter whether they are there or not, right? Chapter 4754. You've defeated me. Xiao Hua laughed. You're right, the Emperor doesn't send hungry soldiers. If you want to work for me, how can I not give you benefits? That's good, that's good. Little White Dragon's heart was finally at ease. Then he asked, what does Big Brother want to know about the 10,000 demon realm? Don't worry. Xiao Hua thought of something again. His eyes turned, and he said in a low voice, I remember that when I talked to the 7-colored sea god shell about going to the outer realm, she said that if we found the realm passage, she would go with us. Do you think she will enter the Kunlun immortal realm? This Little White Dragon hesitated and replied, Big Brother, I don't know. After all, once she enters your Kunlun wonderland, her life is in your hands. I believe Big Brother, Bibbo, and the others also believe Big Brother, but whether the old ancestor believes, I really don't know. Well, when you go back and pack up, ask her. Xiao Hua smiled cutely. If she wants, she can take Bei Ming with her to the 10,000 demon realm. Okay. Little White Dragon knew what Xiao Hua was thinking. He smiled bitterly. Once Big Brother mentioned Ming Hua, even if the old ancestor doesn't want to go, she has to go. Big Brother has pulled another powerful helper. TCH. How could Xiao Hua admit it? He said disdainfully. I'm afraid she will turn against me when she goes to the 10,000 demon realm. It turns out that Little Brother misunderstood Big Brother. Little White Dragon laughed. I thought Big Brother wanted to move the fortune gate to the 10,000 demon realm. You want the old ancestor to be your vanguard. I want to. Xiao Hua's face showed bitterness and pride. He said, but now I don't know if my disciples are willing to move to the 10,000 demon realm. How is that possible? They don't want to go to the 10,000 demon realm? Then where do they want to go? Dawn-Rain continent? Little White Dragon was a little puzzled, but looking at Xiao Hua's expression, he suddenly realized and said in surprise, I understand, Big Brother. Do they not want to go? They want to fight the world, destroying ephemera in the West Sea? It's not clear now, but I'm afraid so. Xiao Hua nodded. When they didn't know that the immortal array could be broken, they were a little hesitant. Now that they know that I've found a way to break the formation, I think they won't hesitate anymore. Big Brother. Little White Dragon smiled bitterly. You humans have a saying that goes, one is marked by the company one keeps. I really don't know what to say. You are so merciful, and your disciple is also so merciful. If others don't know the truth, they would think that your disciples are crazy. They still have a long way to go, and they will make their own choices in the future. Although I don't know if their choice today is true or not, I am already very pleased. Xiao Hua said proudly, let's not talk about this anymore. Tell me about the situation in the 10,000 demon realm. The 10,000 demon realm. Little White Dragon pondered for a moment and said, it's a huge continent with mountains, water, and seas. Speaking of this, Little White Dragon suddenly remembered something and said curiously, Big Brother, I remember that I wrote all the things about the 10,000 demon realm in the dragon shell and handed it to you. Why are you suddenly asking me? TCH, you still have the nerve to talk about what you gave me. Xiao Hua's face was full of disdain as he replied. In addition to telling me that the 10,000 demon realm is huge, there are many demon races, mountains, water, and seas. Oh, and that you grew up in a place called the Gale Abyss. There are many swamps near the Gale Abyss. And then, how did you meet Ming Hua? And then, speaking of this, Xiao Hua suddenly stopped, and a sneer appeared at the corner of his mouth. I understand. That old shell. After all, she didn't believe me, nor did she believe you. She was afraid that there was something in your memory that would harm Bei Ming or expose Bei Ming's secret. She didn't completely unlock your seal. Little White Dragon listened, let out a long sigh, and said, Old Ancestor was probably afraid of being hunted by the Sea Clan, so she didn't do anything. Forget it. Xiaohua thought for a moment, and waved his hand. I underestimated Old Shell and put all my hopes on you. Of course, Old Shell also has a conscience and unlocks some of your seals. At least let me know that there is a metal and wood mountain in the 10,000 demon realm. Go, Little White. Go and tell Old Shell that if she wants to follow me to the 10,000 demon realm, find a place where Bei Ming used to live, and escape from the world exterminating ephemera, she must obediently unseal you completely. Yes, big brother. Little White Dragon said embarrassedly. Little brother didn't help you. I'm really sorry. Haha, why are you saying this to big brother? Xiaohua replied. Go back and pack up, then come to the Yuan-Shi Reef Plain. When big brother sets off, I will bring you all along. Thank you, big brother. Little White Dragon said, bowed, and left the Zhaohua Palace. Damn Old Shell. Do you think I can only rely on you to get information about the 10,000 demon realm? Xiaohua gritted his teeth and cursed. He knew in his heart that if he wanted to get information about the 10,000 demon realm, he would have to ask Old Shell to unseal Little White Dragon. No matter what, Old Shell would definitely put forward other conditions, and even use this matter to threaten him. Of course, Xiaohua could also ask for the 7-colored sea god Shell's descendants, but these descendants were also Little White Dragon's descendants, and Xiaohua would not be ashamed to do so. Xiaohua thought about it, and then sighed. Forget it, Old Shell. You want me to beg you? You are really thinking too much. I don't need you. While speaking, Xiaohua took out the Kunlun mirror and sent Dai out of Shenhua continent. Seeing Yuan Yu leave Shenhua continent and go back, he thought that she would be out soon, but she did not expect that she would wait for so long. Today, being sent out by Xiaohua, she was not particularly surprised, and her expression was calm. However, when she saw the 10 Fortune Gate Masters sitting on the fortune thrones in the void above the high platform, each of them had a different aura, and each of them had a mysterious aura. Her heart could not help but tighten, and she hurriedly bowed and said, greets the seniors. Get up. When Xiaohua spoke, his throne abruptly expanded. His figure also covered a large area of the void like a round sun, and the other 9 old masters became brilliant stars that adorned the void behind him. Yes, Dao was Xiao. Dai did not understand the situation and did not dare to speak carelessly. She only greeted Xiaohua as Dao was Xiao and immediately got up. Give it a reward, and thank you for all forms of support. Chapter 4755. Seeing the shock on Dai-er's face and the trace of panic in her eyes, Xiaohua understood that his and the others might have given her a great shock. So he slowly opened his mouth and said, Today, this old man called you out because I have something to discuss with you. Dai-er hurriedly bowed and said, Taoist master can tell me anything. There is nothing to discuss. This junior will listen to your orders. Good. Xiaohua nodded. When we were in the 1,000 Demons Sacred Realm, this old man had already told you that this is one of the 3 continents, a different realm from the Dawn Rain continent and the 10,000 Demons realm. Now, this realm has encountered a calamity. As for the specific situation, this old man will let Yuan tell you later. Now, this Xiao has found a way to go to the 10,000 Demons realm, and then return to the Dawn Rain continent through the 10,000 Demons realm. So, I hope you can tell this old man the situation of the 10,000 Demons realm. In addition, if you know the space channel from the 10,000 Demons realm to the Dawn Rain continent, you can also tell this old man. Really want to return to the 10,000 Demons realm? Dai-er was really surprised and happy. Her face was full of disbelief. However, in a moment, Dai-er realized that it was inappropriate and quickly bowed. This junior has been rude. Please forgive me. It's okay. Xiaohua smiled. Anyone who knows that they can return to their hometown will be excited. This old man is very understanding. However, the situation of the 3 continents is very urgent now. This old man needs your help. Yes, this junior knows. Dyer nodded like a chicken pecking rice, and said, "However, this junior went to the Dawn Rain continent with the Empress last time. It was an accident. The Empress didn't seem to know the space channel to the Dawn Rain continent, but when we were traveling, we were suddenly involved in a space storm and fell into the Dawn Rain continent." Xiao Hua was inevitably a little disappointed, but he also knew that Dai would not lie to him. So he asked again, "If so, can you roughly explain the situation of the 10,000 Demons realm?" 10,000 Demons realm? Hearing Xiao Hua ask about the 10,000 Demons realm, Dai Er's face unconsciously showed embarrassment. She smiled and said, "Taoist Master Xiao, this junior." See, when Xiao Hua saw Dai like this, he couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air. When he first saw Dai she was just a cute child. How could she know the situation of the 10,000 Demon realm? Sure enough, Dai continued. Junior grew up in the Heavenly Fortune Palace and has never left the Sky Rain realm. When the Empress married the Demon King Immerse, Junior and these sisters accompanied us to live in the Qin School Palace. The Qin School Palace is in the Songyuan realm and is not suitable for the life of Tian clan, so Junior rarely goes out. Therefore, this junior is not particularly familiar with the 10,000 Demon realm. It's even worse than the Dawn Rain continent. It's okay, Xiao Hua said with a smile. Tell me what you know. For example, with the Sky Rain realm and the Songyuan realm just some realms? Is the celestial race the ancient celestial race? Seeing that Xiao Hua's expression did not show any displeasure or disappointment, the pressure in Dai Er's heart suddenly decreased, but she still carefully said, "Let Jinra know that the 10,000 Demon realm is not like the human race in the Dawn Rain continent, where the country is the boundary, but the boundary is the country." Junior is not sure how many realms there are in the 10,000 Demon realm, but Junior knows that my Heavenly Feather clan is in the Sky Rain realm, and the Heavenly Eagle clan is in the Sky Rending realm. As for the others, this Junior's memory is already fuzzy. The Heavenly Feather clan and the Heavenly Eagle clan live at the top of the sky, so they are called the Celestial race. Junior does not know if they are the Celestial race that Senior mentioned. Because the Celestial race is above the 10,000 Demon realm, they are also called the Higher race. In addition to the Higher race, there are also the Water race and the Lower race. The lower race lives on the ground. For example, the East Mountain Ihu sneak attacked the Empress. The Wolf race killed the lower race, and the Lizard race, Leopard race, and so on. The Water race is naturally the water race that lives in the rivers and lakes. The Shell race and the Fish race are all water races. In addition to the Higher race, Lower race, and Water race, there are also the Spirit race and the Origin race. Junior is not particularly clear. However, Junior knows that Demon King Immerse is from the Origin race. This Origin race seems to be the most mysterious race in the 10,000 Demon realm. According to legend, it is the oldest race that existed after the formation of the 10,000 Demon realm. Then, Dai said some things that she could still remember. Unfortunately, she was young at that time and had passed through the Heaven prison. Based on the time gap, she had not experienced the 10,000 Demon realm at all. Her words, other than giving Xiao Hua a rough understanding of the 10,000 Demon realm, did not have much use for him to understand the 10,000 Demon realm. After Dai finished, Xiao Hua pondered for a moment and asked in a low voice, "Dai, this old man is not inquiring about the secrets of the Empress. Tell me, the Empress came to the Dawn Rain continent to experience the world? Or was there another purpose?" Dai was really embarrassed. She thought for a moment and replied, "The Empress came to the Dawn Rain continent, naturally to experience the world. However, she is indeed looking for a great sage who is still missing in the 10,000 Demon realm." A great sage in the 10,000 Demon realm? Xiao Hua was stunned and asked curiously, "The 10,000 Demon realm also has a great sage?" "Yes," Dai nodded and said, "The 10,000 Demon realm naturally has a great sage. This great sage is my 10,000 Demon realm's title for the great beings. Could it be that the Dawn Rain continent also has a great sage?" The Dawn Rain continent doesn't seem to have a great sage. Xiao Hua understood and said with a smile. However, the great sage hall of the Thousand Demons' sacred realm has a great sage. With that, Xiao Hua pointed at Feng Wu and said, "This is the great sage hall's first great sage, heaven-defying Thunder Phoenix." "Greetings, great sage." Dai glanced at Feng Wu and hurriedly bowed again. Feng Wu smiled and said, "The great sage that the Empress is looking for. Who is it?" "This." Dai hesitated again, but Feng Wu said, "Since we already know that it is a great sage who has disappeared for a long time, when I reach the 10,000 demon realm, won't I know after asking around?" Dai knew that everything was now in the hands of Xiao Hua, and Xiao Hua was Yuan Ye's master. She had no other choice but to believe in Xiao Hua. Of course, she was also willing to believe in Xiao Hua. "I won't hide it from Taoist Master Xiao." Dai said, "This junior knows some secrets of the Heavenly Feather Clan and also some secrets of the Empress. These secrets shouldn't be told to others, but in order to save the Empress, this junior can tell some of the Empress's secrets. However, senior, please don't force this junior to ask about the secrets of the Heavenly Feather Clan." Xiao Hua smiled and said, "If you don't say it, this old man naturally won't force you. How about this? This matter will end here. Can you tell me about the strength of the great sage in the 10,000 demon realm? Oh, right. How strong was the Empress that day?" Chapter 4756. Seeing that Xiao Hua did not even ask about Xianwan, Dyer was overjoyed and hurriedly replied, "This junior knows. Empress once said that she is an ocean powerhouse of the 10,000 demon realm. When she arrived at the Dawn Rain continent, she may be suppressed by the rules of the realm and can only have the strength of the peak of the spirit-severing stage. As for the 10,000 demon realm's great sage, they are generally stronger than ordinary sun powerhouses. As for their specific strength, this junior cannot guess blindly." Dyer's words were not out of Xiao Hua's expectations. Dyer was young before, and now she was not at the 9th level of essence power. She could not know the true strength of the 10,000 demon realm's great sage. However, Dyer's words still made Xiao Hua's heart skip a beat. The rules of the realm. Yes, the immature realm from before has the rules of the Shunhua continent. The 3 continents and the Dawn Rain continent are the same realm, and the rules are the same. However, the 10,000 demon realm is not the same realm as the 4 major continents. The rules there must be different from the 4 major continents. If Empress's strength is suppressed here, then what about me? Xiao Hua secretly thought, if I go to the 10,000 demon realm, won't my strength be suppressed too? However, if the spiritual realm of my space is similar to the 10,000 demon realm, then my strength should not be affected too much. Xiao Hua pondered, but Feng Wu asked curiously, "Dyer, how is the strength of the 10,000 demon realm divided? What are the levels of the ocean powerhouses and sun powerhouses?" "I will let Phoenix Sage know." Dyer laughed. This junior remembers the most clearly. The strength of the 10,000 demon realm is divided into 3 levels, corresponding to the 3 levels of heaven, earth, and demon. Within the heaven realm, there are sun powerhouses, moon powerhouses, and star powerhouses. Within the earth realm, there are ocean powerhouses, earth powerhouses, and mountain powerhouses. As for the demon realm, it is a bit troublesome. My upper clan is divided into clear cloud powerhouses, flowing cloud powerhouses, and wind powerhouses. The lower clan is divided into rock powerhouses, sand powerhouses, and dust powerhouses. The origin clan is divided into spiritualized demon, intelligent demon, and barbaric demon. The water clan. This junior does not know, but it is more called great demon, medium demon, and small demon. Is it that simple? Feng Wu asked curiously, Isn't this a little too crude? Dyer covered her mouth and laughed. Yes, that day when the Empress heard that the Xiaoyu continent's Dao sect was divided into Qi refining, foundation establishment, gold core, nascent soul, spirit severing, void refining, combination, Mahayana, and tribulation passing, she was also very surprised. She even praised that the human race was indeed worthy of the title of the soul of all creatures. This was not flattering themselves, just the division of realms alone was something that our 10,000 demon realm could not do. TSK. Xiaohua criticized in his heart when he heard this. This is merely the Taoist sect's division of realms in Daybreak Continent. If you know the three continents, Confucian cultivators, Taoist sects, Buddhist sects, and also the demon race's division of realms, then you'll be even more flabbergasted. The cultivation methods of each sect are different, and their realms are different as well. If not for the fact that the Confucian cultivators have divided their elemental energy into levels, it would really be hard to compare them. Oh, yes, in the 10,000 demon realm, in addition to the division of heaven, earth, and demon realm, the most common race is the ordinary spirit race. We divide the ordinary spirit race into great spirit, middle spirit, and small spirit. Seemed to have thought of something again and hurriedly added. Seeing that Dyer finished and did not speak again, Xiao Hua smiled and said, "Is there anything else?" There's. Dyer whispered as she pondered. After a moment, she shook her head and said, "Junior really doesn't know anything else. Please forgive me." Xiao Huan nodded and smiled. "You were so young when you left the 10,000 demon realm. It's already good that you can remember so much." Dyer smiled and asked again, "Junior hasn't seen Little Yellow for a long time. How is he now?" Little Yellow and Little Black are cultivating. When they come out, I'm afraid they will be able to catch up to your cultivation. Xiao Hua explained, "Dai, you also have to seize the time to cultivate." "No way." Dai was dumbfounded. How could Little Yellow however, after a moment, Dai smiled bitterly and said, "Empress is right. Little Yellow must be the strange demon D-Ting. His future is not something this junior can compare with. No matter how powerful Little Yellow is, you are still his sister." Xiao Hua smiled. "You should be happy to have such a powerful brother." Yes. Dai-er's face showed a happy smile. "Dai-er," Huang Tong suddenly asked, "if we go to the 10,000 demon realm and agree to let you leave, who will you pass the news of Empress to?" This. Dai hesitated again. Logically speaking, she should pass this news to Demon King Mo Sa as soon as possible. However, she could not explain why Xian Wan was stranded in the Dawn Rain continent. Dai-er could tell Taoist Master Xiao, Feng Wu, or even anyone else about Xian Wan's search for the missing great sage. But she couldn't tell Demon King Masa. Moreover, she knew that although she could not say it, Demon King Mo Sa had a way to get the truth from her mouth. Other than Demon King Mo Sa, Dai-er could only send a message to the Flying Feather Clan's Heavenly Blessing Palace. But the problem was that Xian Wan was already married to Demon King Mo Sa. How could the Heavenly Blessing Palace make a move? At this moment, Dai-er finally understood the sorrow on Xian Wan's face when she was plotted against by Dong Shani. She had already seen the desperation when she used the cocoon and the indifference when she sent the pure feather into her body. This was because she clearly knew her end. It was an unsolvable death trap. It was a death trap that no one could solve. After Dai-er woke up, her eyes flashed with a pale golden light. She looked from Xiao Hua and Taoist Xiao to Huang Tong. Suddenly, she was enlightened and immediately knelt on the ground. Dai-er pleads Taoist Xiao, pleads all the seniors to make a move and save Empress. What happened to Empress in the Dawn Rain continent was all done by Dong Shani. Empress is merciful and will never make things difficult for any human on the Dawn Rain continent. Xiao Hua raised his hand to help Dai-er up and said, "This old man has already agreed to save Empress and will also let you and Ya go with you. But today, we will return through the 10,000 demon realm. This old man does not want to hide anything from you, so I will listen to your opinion again. Since you still want this old man to make a move, then when this old man takes you to the 10,000 demon realm, you do not need to return to the Heavenly Blessing Palace. Yes, this junior understands. Dyer nodded. This junior cannot return to the heavenly blessing palace at this time. Only after rescuing Empress can this junior return to the sky rain world. That's good. Xiao Hua smiled. This old man needs something to go to the 10,000 demon realm. I hope you can provide it. What does Daoist Xiao want? Dyer was puzzled. She looked at Xiao Hua in bewilderment, her mind turning rapidly. Chapter 4757. Seeing that Dyer still didn't understand, Xiao Hua had to answer. Of course, it's the language of the demon realm. I don't understand the language of the demon realm, so won't I become a deaf person? A mute? Oh, so that's what you mean. Dyer suddenly realized and hurriedly took out a jade slip from her waist, handed it over, and said, I'll let you know that there are countless spirit clans in the demon realm. Every spirit clan has a different language. Although some spirit clans can solve the problem of not being able to communicate with each other, the effect is not good. After that, the divine mother of Peacock of the Phoenix sacred realm comprehended a spiritual language. Both demons with cultivation and mortals without cultivation could use it. This spiritual language became the common language of the 10,000 demon realm. Xiao Hua took the jade slip and released his divine sense. Feng Wu glanced at Huang Tong and asked Dyer, in your demon realm, are there phoenixes? Yes. The Phoenix clan is the royal clan of the upper clans. How can there be no phoenixes? Dyer answered without hesitation. The Phoenix sacred realm has the Phoenix clan, Peacock, Spirit Void, and so on. Hearing this, Xiao Hua's heart skipped a beat, and he said, Dyer, is there a dragon clan in the demon realm? Dragon clan? Dyer's face was a little blank, as if she didn't understand. She asked curiously, what kind of spirit clan is the dragon clan? Reverend Yun growled and unfolded his dragon body, and said, I am a dragon clan. Maybe, maybe not. Dyer shook her head, but I've never heard of it. Then there must be none. Xiao Hua shook his head. If there's a dragon clan, you must have heard of it. Reverend Yun asked, then among the lower clans, the Water Clan and the Origin Clan, which are the royal clans. The lower clans seem to be the Lion Clan and the Tiger Clan. As for the Water Clan, it should be the Leopard Whale Clan. As for the Origin Clan, I really don't know. Dyer's words sounded a little hesitant, as if her words were specious. Reverend Yin said curiously, that's strange. The demon realm is the realm of all spirits, the paradise of the demon clan. How can there be no dragon clan? Don't forget, Xiao Hua smiled. If there's no dragon clan, there will be pythons. Xiao Bai's dragon transformation art was obtained by chance in the 10,000 demon realm. Xiao Bai's original form is a python. The Python clan is a lower clan in our 10,000 demon realm. Dyer hurriedly said, their status is similar to the lizard clan. All right, Xiao Hua nodded. Dyer, you go back and cultivate first. When we reach the 10,000 demon realm, if there is a need, this old man will ask you to come out. Otherwise, the next time you come out, it will be time for you to meet the Empress. Yes, I will listen to your instructions. Dyer had no objections to Xiao Hua's arrangements. She bowed and entered the Shunhua continent. These two. Xiao Hua laughed. One was still young when he left the 10,000 demon realm, so he didn't know anything. One was that his memories still hadn't recovered, so it seemed like he had asked for nothing. I can only wait until I get to the 10,000 demon realm and deal with the changes by sticking to the status quo. No matter. Huang Tong flapped her wings and said, we are not going to stay in the 10,000 demon realm. After entering the 10,000 demon realm, he immediately inquired about the location of the metal and wood elemental magnetism. After taking the elemental magnetism, he immediately went to the space passage in Xiao Bai's memory. Who cares if there's something in the 10,000 demon realm that we don't know about? That's true. Xiao Hua laughed involuntarily and said, this time is the most critical. If we can break the array a day earlier, we can save a lot of lives. We can't delay at all. The trivial matters have been dealt with. Let's seize the time to comprehend the space escape technique. Huang Tong saw the situation and urged, "In my previous opinion, fellow Taoist, Xiao must comprehend this space escape technique in order to borrow my Dharma body. We can pass through the restriction between the two realms together. By the way, fellow Taoist Xiao, can you lend me the 100 Beast flag to refine? The soul in the 100 Beast flag is very similar to my supernatural power." Of course, Xiaohua did not hesitate and gave the 100 Beast flag to Huang Tong. Then he thought for a moment and threw the yin-yang illustration book to the Thunder Immortal and said, "Fellow Taoist Thunder, we don't need to cultivate any primordial spirit in trusting technique. You can refine this yin-yang illustration book into the soul-slaying light." "No problem." The Thunder Immortal took the yin-yang illustration book and shouted happily. Also, Xiaohua opened his mouth again, and 8 cauldrons flew out, landing in front of the 8 doppelgangers. Xiaohua then instructed, "Fellow Taoists, this Xiao will refine the Yu cauldron. As for the other 8 cauldrons, please help me refine them." Seeing the doppelgangers put away the 9 province cauldrons, Xiaohua did not dare to be negligent. He roared and once again activated the throne of creation. The rumbling sound came from the void again. Then, a black and white light overflowed from the void. First, it slowly enveloped the 10 thrones, then the high platform, and finally the entire creation Taoist palace. The black and white light was twisting, elongating, and compressing. Indescribable waves of energy were emitted from the inside. When the fluctuations fell into the air, the surrounding void was torn apart. It was more terrifying than the attacks of the supreme experts of the 3 continents. This strange phenomenon lasted for 3 whole years. On the 4th year, the black and white light began to turn into spots. The spots looked like butterflies fluttering around the Yuanxi Reef. However, within each spot, there were countless strange scenes reflected. Some were demon realms, some were Buddhist kingdoms, some were villages, and some were lakes. There were all kinds of strange creatures in them. Between these spots, there were the shadows of the 5 elements primordial beasts dancing and running around. This strange scene also lasted for more than 3 years. On the 7th year, the spots gradually turned into fine lines. As the fine lines spread out, the entire space of the creation Taoist palace became transparent. Xiaohua's transcendence golden body, Thunder Reverend's Thunder Tao body, Wenshu's noble true body, Methrya's Buddha golden body, Feng Wu's demon body, Taoist witch's green seal shaman body, Reverend Yun's 5-clawed true dragon body, Celestial being's desolate white bone body, Overlord Shi's spirit slaying devil body, and Huang Tong's soul devouring demon body. All of them had turned into the size of an indomitable spirit, appearing and disappearing in the space. Waves of terrifying aura rushed out of the Yuanxi Reef. Not to mention the waves of the West Sea, even the sky above was filled with lightning and thunder. On the last year, countless shadows that looked like passageways, cracks, and even rainbow bridges rolled around the Yuanxi Reef. A huge space vortex replaced the creation Taoist palace and appeared in the sky. Inside the vortex, countless stars fell. The shadows of the sun and moon were torn apart. Mountains, rivers, and mountains were all destroyed. Worlds were also born and destroyed in the vortex. Finally, with a loud rumble, the 10th master of the creation gate, Huang Tong's transcendence golden body, was born in the vortex. Then, Xiaohua's transcendence golden body flashed rapidly. After 81 times, it turned into Xiaohua's transcendence golden body. Xiaohua's transcendence golden body raised its hand and grabbed. All the strange phenomena were caught in its hand. Even the lightning and thunder, the surging waves, and the shifting of the stars were all absorbed into its body. Chapter 4758. Xiaohua softly sighed, a sound that was comparable to the sound of ghosts and gods. Xiaohua's tightly closed eyes slightly opened. Perhaps it was the light of thunder, or perhaps it was the brightness of the sun and moon. Immediately, The entire space was illuminated by this light. As this light spread out, the spatial anomaly slowly calmed down. Subsequently, the fortune throne appeared, and Xiao Hua sat down. After the radiance faded, his avatars also appeared. Shua. After Xiao Hua and his avatars appeared, their figures rapidly shrank and fell into the Fortune Dao Palace that appeared in the void. Then, Xiao Hua's dignified voice sounded in the Yuanxi Reef Plain, "Disciples, enter the Fortune Dao Palace." In these 10 years, the Fortune Gate's disciples naturally didn't dare to stray too far from the Yuanxi Reef Plain. They cultivated on their own and waited for Xiao Hua and the others to come out of seclusion. Now that they heard the sect master's command, they hurriedly flew into the Fortune Dao Palace. Princess Zixia, Princess Qingqing, Baiyan Yu Xiajing, and the others come in as well. Xiao Hua's voice sounded again. Princess Zixia and the others understood Xiao Hua's meaning and hurriedly flew in without any hesitation. Everyone stood still and looked at the void high in the sky. The Fortune Gate's sect master and the 10 old masters were no different from before. After everyone finished greeting each other, Xiao Hua impatiently asked, "Lu Yi, have you found the Queen Mayfly?" Reporting to sect master, Lu Yi hurriedly answered, "There has been no trace of the Queen Mayfly in the Western Sea. Moreover, from the current situation, there has been no news from the Immortal Palace, Lightning Toon Temple, Dragon Island, or Great Holy Hall. I'm afraid they haven't found it yet." AI. Xiao Hua sighed and asked again, "What's the situation of the 3 mainlands?" Louis bit his lips and said in a low voice, "Day by day, year by year. The end of the world is imminent." Xiao Hua raised his head and looked outside the Fortune Dao Palace. Although the sun was still shining on the Western Sea, there was a faint grayish-black color between heaven and earth. This color had already covered all vitality. 3 years ago, the Lightning Toon Temple sent a simple message. Fujiwen said in a low voice, "The Virokana has determined that the end of the 3 mainlands will happen within 100 years. 100 years. Just 100 years. Xiao Hua's eyes flashed with a complicated expression. It's just a seclusion. Everything is about to be destroyed. Yes. All the disciples were silent. Fujiwen looked at Xiao Hua's expression and said, "Master, there is one more thing. Disciple doesn't know if I did the right thing." What happened? Xiao Hua looked at Fujiwen. He knew that if it was an ordinary matter, Fujiwen would never say this. There must have been a huge change. Fujiwen hesitated for a moment and said, "When a Mahavirakkana World Venerable sent the message, he also sent 50,000 heavenly guardians to escort the 500,000 young bodhisattvas." Hearing this, Xiao Hua's heart skipped a beat. He knew that the Mahavirakkana revered one had found out that he had found a way to leave the 3 continents. Sure enough, Fujiwen said, after these heavenly kings and arhats arrived, they didn't say anything and just sat outside the Fortune Dao Palace. No matter how the disciples asked, they refused to speak. However, when this disciple looked at them, he understood something. So, Xiao Hua originally wanted to release his spiritual force to take a look, but at this point, what was the point of seeing it? He simply asked meaningfully, "So you agree?" This disciple is too soft-hearted. Fujiwen hurriedly knelt down. This disciple looked at those arhats' childish faces. Although this disciple knew that this was the Mahavirakkana World Venerable's plan, this disciple still couldn't help. Not only senior brother Fu, Lu Yi and the others also hurriedly knelt down. This was the decision made by all of us disciples. Xiao Hua didn't comment and asked again, "Then, did the Immortal Palace take action? What about the Great Holy Temple and Dragon Island?" Not only the Immortal Palace, Great Holy Temple, and Dragon Island. Lu Yi added, "The Dragon Palace of the 4 Seas also sent dragon generals to escort the young dragon race and sea tribe." Fujiwen added, "Whether it was the Immortal Palace, Great Holy Temple, Dragon Island, or the Dragon Palace of the 4 Seas, all of them sent 50,000 escorts and 500,000 young children." Fu Jiwen hesitated for a moment before continuing. However, the Thousand Demons Sacred Realm is currently in chaos because the Phoenix Sage is not here, and the Dragon Sage and Spider Sage have been killed. In order to snatch the demon domain, the descendants of the other great sages have attacked the Dragon Sage and Spider Sage's descendants. Xiao Hua nodded and said indifferently, "This matter has nothing to do with my fortune gate. What about the 100 schools of philosophers from a third-grade families? They sent young children over." Fu Jiwen hurriedly explained, "Fu family, Yu family, Chang family. We secretly searched for some disciples." Xiao Hua looked at the group of disciples and waved his hand, indicating for them to rise. He smiled and said, "Rise. Since there's a chance of survival, it's understandable for them to leave some descendants for their own orthodoxies. Our fortune gate is a human race, and we want to be magnanimous to the world. This matter will help them. However, you won't agree so easily, right? There are no conditions, right?" How can there be no conditions?" Fu Jiwen stood up and smiled. "Let's not talk about other conditions. The West Sea already belongs to our Tao Gate. The West Sea Dragon Palace also belongs to our Fortune Gate. Master can now appoint the West Sea Dragon King." "Forget it." Xiao Hua pondered for a moment and said, "Jiang Hong will temporarily take over the West Sea Dragon Palace. Ao Zhan will assist. As for the West Sea, you can make the decision." Thank you, Sect Master." Jiang Hong's voice trembled as she knelt down and saluted. Looking at Jiang Hong, Xiao Hua was helpless. He originally wanted the little white dragon to be the West Sea Dragon Palace's master, but the little white dragon wanted to follow him to the 10,000 demon world. The West Sea Dragon King seat had been empty for so long, and it had caused a lot of changes. If he didn't let someone sit there, not to mention others, Jiang Hong would have an opinion. Moreover, in the entire Fortune Gate, only Jiang Hong had the qualifications. As for Ao Zhan, Xiao Hua didn't want the Fortune Gate to be divided after he left. "Rise." Xiao Hua smiled. "The West Sea is our Fortune Gate's West Sea, and the West Sea Dragon Palace is also our Fortune Gate's West Sea Dragon Palace. Jiang Hong, remember, no matter who sits on that seat, they are our Fortune Gate's disciple." "Yes, rest assured, Sect Master, this disciple will remember this." Jiang Hong nodded in agreement. "Where's Chuanzong?" Xiao Hua asked again. Lu Yi hurriedly replied, "Reporting to Master, Chuanzong has already entered the East Sea. This disciple has already sent a message to the East Sea Dragon Palace. If they don't take care of him, our Fortune Gate's disciples will enter the East Sea. Therefore, the East Sea Dragon Palace has already sent patrolling Yikshas to secretly protect him. Give it as a reward, and thank you for all your support." Chapter 4759. Good. Xiao Hua heaved a sigh of relief. Then a trace of compassion flashed across his eyes as he said, "Today, this old man called all of you to the Fortune Tao Palace to tell you that this old man has successfully cultivated a divine ability. In a few days, I will tear through the world's surface barrier and head to the 10,000 demon world. Do you have a choice?" As Xiao Hua's words fell, all the disciples' hearts sank. Although they knew that this choice would come, when it was time for them to make a choice, they felt a little unprepared. Fu Jiwen glanced at Lu Yi, and Lu Yi nodded at him. Then, Lu Yi stepped forward and said, "Master, do you still remember that before you went into seclusion, you told your disciples to think of a way to determine the status of senior and junior brothers? Now that we have discussed it, the one who can survive until the end in this apocalypse will be the eldest senior brother. The one who dies first will be the junior brother." See, Xiao Hua sucked in a breath of cold air, and his eyes couldn't help but moisten. He really didn't expect that his disciples, who had the aptitude to look down on the world, would have to use this method to determine who was the eldest senior brother. Lightly sniffing, Xiao Hua suppressed the pride in his heart and said in a low voice, "So, you have already made the final decision?" "Yes, Master." Fu Jiwen nodded. "We are all humans of the three mainlands, and we have the obligation to defend the dignity of the human race. At the moment when the three mainlands are about to be destroyed, we can't escape, can't hide, can't be cowards. Otherwise, even if we can survive, our hearts are already dead. My soul won't belong to us anymore. Guilt and regret will be like a poisonous snake pestering us. Wang Bianfei also said, disciples have already thought about it. Since we are the Fortune Gate's disciples, since we are the disciples of Guan Yin Bodhisattva, we have no reason to retreat at this critical moment. We must fight with the other human race, demonic beast race, and dragon race to the end. Clap, 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 including Xiaohua. The 10 masters all clapped their hands. After all, to make such a choice when there was still a chance of survival, it required great perseverance, great benevolence, and great breadth of mind. Xiaohua was really proud of these disciples. With such breadth of mind and benevolence, how could the heavenly Tao not favor them? If these disciples couldn't shake the world, then who could? This old man agrees with your decision. Xiaohua nodded. What about those Shenhua, mainland's Fortune Gate disciples? Fu Jiwen said, Master, although those disciples were born in the Shenhua continent and grew up in the Kunlun Wonderland, their roots are still the tens of thousands of disciples who were sent to the Kunlun Wonderland that day. Those tens of thousands of disciples have roots in the 3 continents as well. So, in the end, they're still humans of the 3 continents. Just like the disciples, they have to stay here. Impossible. Xiaohua shook his head slightly. This old man knows your cultivation realm. But my Fortune Gate has so many disciples, it's impossible for all of you to be so united. Yu Zhongquan took a few steps forward and said, Master, Senior Brother Lu, he has left this matter to me. I have a name list here. There are indeed many disciples who are unwilling to stay behind in the 3 continents. They would rather return to the Shenhua continent. Please read it, Master. There's no need to look. Xiaohua glanced at Yu Zhongquan and said, This old man has already said that no matter what choice you make, this old man will respect it. After all, this is a matter of life and death. It's no small matter. Back then, when this old man didn't see the light of hope, I also struggled. I even wanted to bring you all to escape to the 10,000 demon world. Yes, this disciple understands. Yu Zhongquan breathed a sigh of relief. It seemed that the disciples didn't agree on how to deal with these disciples. Fellow Taoist Lei, Xiaohua said, Go and send these disciples to the Kunlun Wonderland. Master, don't worry. Fu Jiwen hurriedly said, Other than choosing not to return to the Shenhua continent, this disciple and the others have 2 suggestions. Oh, what do you think? Xiaohua said with interest. Fu Jiwen said, The first suggestion is to send our Fortune Gate's female disciples to the Shenhua continent. They're the foundation of our Fortune Gate. We must protect them well. Chang Yuan hurriedly said, Master, this female disciple does not include this disciple. It also doesn't include this disciple. Jiang Hong shouted. Good. Xiaohua nodded. Then what's the second suggestion? Send the Soaring Dragon Mountain Range's ordinary disciples, including Xiong Yi, Li Xiang, Zhai Xingzi, and the others, to the Kunlun Wonderland. Fu Jiwen said again. Senior Brother Fu? Xiong Yi exclaimed in shock. How come I didn't know about this? Why didn't you discuss it with us? This is a joint decision made by us inner disciples. Lu Yi replied indifferently. You are all outer disciples, and your strength is shallow. When facing the world-exterminating ephemera, you won't be able to resist. Rather than being a hindrance in the West Sea, it's better to return to the Shenhua continent and continue cultivating. Although Lu Yi's words were not pleasant to the ears, Xiong Yi and the others could hear a strong sense of protection in his words. Li Xiang shouted, Senior Brother Lu, you're an inner disciple, but you're also a Fortune Gate disciple. Which Fortune Gate disciple would shrink back in the face of a world-ending calamity? You are a human from the hidden immortal continent, and this disciple is also a human from the hidden immortal continent. This is the key to the survival of the human race, and everyone has a responsibility. This disciple will definitely not enter the Shenhua continent. You can choose not to go, but all the other young disciples and disciples below the nascent soul realm must enter, Lu Yi said without hesitation. Hearing this, Xiongyi was overjoyed. Of course. Xiao Hua shook his head and said, Xiongyi, Li Xiong, you don't need to say any more. Lu Yi is right. Our fortune gate can contribute to the three mainlands, but we can't destroy our descendants because of this. Your strength is shallow, and you won't be of much use against the world-exterminating ephemera. Why don't you stay in the Shenhua continent, and when Master goes to the 10,000 demon world and Dawn Rain continent, you can spread your branches and leaves there. Master, Li Xiong wanted to say more, but Xiao Hua waved his hand and said, This matter is decided. Ordinary disciples don't have your leadership ability, and the entire fortune gate depends on you. From this point of view, the burden on your shoulders is more important than Lu Yi, Fu Jiwen, and the others. Li Xiong and Xiong Yi looked at each other, then knelt on the ground and said, Master, please rest assured, this disciple will definitely bring glory to the fortune gate in other world surfaces and will not disappoint Master and senior brothers. Good, you all go and pack. 10 days later, follow this old man to the 10,000 demon world. Xiao Hua didn't hesitate, and just as he was about to wave his hand, he suddenly thought of something. His gaze went past Lu Yi and looked at the silent black bear hiding at the side. Chapter 4760. In his early years, the black bear spirit was always in the limelight in front of Xiaohua. However, after returning from the upper realm and becoming famous in the Thousand Beasts sacred grounds, he gradually restrained himself. Whenever there was a meeting in the Fortune Dao Palace, he would participate in it, but he never spoke much. Today, even when they were discussing whether they should stay or leave, he did not speak much. He was not like before, clamoring to be Xiao Hua's guard. Black Bear, Xiao Hua called out warmly. Great Master. The black bear's spirit immediately responded, and his voice sounded like he was about to cry. Are you also staying? Xiao Hua asked. The black bear's spirit nodded. Yes. This little one is Master's guard, so naturally, I have to stay in the Fortune Dao Palace to watch over Master. You don't have to stay. Xiao Hua pondered for a moment, then said to Lu Yi, Order the Thousand Beasts sacred grounds and Fortune Gates disciples to return. Try to return within 10 days. Yes, this disciple understands. Lu Yi hurriedly agreed, but then he smiled bitterly. Master, 10 days. I'm afraid we won't make it in time. You don't have to worry about it. Xiao Hua nodded and said to Feng Wu, I'll leave this matter to fellow Taoist. Understood. Feng Wu said, When this matter is over, I'll make a trip to the Thousand Beasts sacred grounds. Great Master, the black bear's spirit cried. This little one didn't do anything wrong. Why must Master punish this little one? What did this old man say I was punishing you? Xiao Hua smiled and pointed at Xiong Yi and the others, saying, They are humans, and they need to go to the Thousand Beasts world to reproduce. Without the protection of the demonic beasts, how can they succeed? You, White Lion, and Golden Eagle are my Fortune Gate's 3 Beast Kings, and this heavy responsibility is yours. So that's how it is. The black bear's spirit suddenly understood. Who knew if he was really stupid? But he quickly kowtowed and said, This little one will not disappoint Master's trust. Go, all of you go, and prepare. Xiao Hua signaled for the disciples to leave. After all the disciples had left, Xiao Hua looked at Lightning Reverend and the others with a smile on his face. He said, The 10 of us can't all leave. 1 or 2 must stay behind. Otherwise, the Fortune Gate will belong to someone else before we can break the formation. That's right. Taoist Wu nodded. We haven't found a strand of the primordial chaos ancestor's primordial spirit. Who knows where he is hiding? There must be a cultivator at the pinnacle of the 9th grade of essence, energy, guarding the Fortune Dao Palace. Of course it's I. The Lightning Reverend shouted. I am the second master of the Fortune Gate. Now that the first master has passed away, it is naturally I's turn to take over the Fortune Gate. Unfortunately, Xiaohua looked at the lightning sage and shook his head slightly. He said, "Fellow Taoist lightning, the immortal formation is divided into 3 layers. They are the Taoist immortal formation, the Buddhist sect immortal formation, and the demon race immortal formation. You are a Tao cultivator, so you are responsible for breaking the Taoist immortal formation. Isn't fellow Taoist Xiao a grand ascension stage Taoist as well?" The lightning Taoist was perplexed. "You can also break through the formation." "No." Xiaohua looks at the thunderbolt immortal who is devoid of humanity and shakes his head. "You, Buddha Mithria, the world-honored one, Feng Wu and celestial being cannot stay." "All right." Hearing Xiaohua's resolute words, the lightning reverend did not understand why, so he could only nod his head dejectedly and agree. Xiaohua looked at his clones worriedly. Taoist Yin and Demon Venerable sure could not stay. They needed to push down the 3 peaks with him. Only Taoist Wu and Wen Chu could stay. However, the Donrain continent was different from the other 3 continents. The Donrain continent had 1,000,000 mountains. Xiaohua could not guarantee that he could return to the Donrain continent through the spatial tunnel. What if he landed on the other side of the 1,000,000 mountains? He still remembered clearly that he had an agreement with the Shaman King. Taoist Wu would follow him to the depths of the mysterious 1,000,000 mountains. He would definitely be a great help. If that was the case, then the only one who could stay was Wen Chu. Seeing Xiaohua's gaze fall on his face, Wen Chu smiled and said, "Master Xiaolei, let this king take charge of the Fortune Tao Palace." "All right, then I will have to trouble the master of Wen Chu Palace." As Xiaohua spoke, he took out the Xianyuan sword and handed it to Wen Chu. "I don't care about the Dragon Island, Great Sage Palace, and Thunder Temple. What I fear the most is the Immortal Palace. Immortal Emperor Gaochun's desire to destroy my Tao sect seems to have not given up yet. With the Xianyuan sword, you can fend off his son of Heaven's sword." "Huh." Wen Chu waved his hand and said, "Fellow Immortal, you are wrong. If I leave the Xianyuan sword here, it will only attract the attention of Gaochun. It is better to leave it with you. It will serve as a deterrent." Xiaohua thought for a moment, then put away the Xianyuan sword and nodded. "Fellow Immortal is right. It is more suitable for I to take it." At this point, the Mithria Buddha of the world suddenly stood up and said, "Bodhisattva, I will leave for a moment. Since I am leaving, I need to settle down the exquisite temple. Also, regarding the news of the Dragon Sage, I need to inform the Mahavarakana Buddha of the world." "Buddha of the world, please." Xiaohua nodded. The Mithria Buddha of the world reached out and pulled at the void. As if opening a door, he disappeared in a flash. Seeing this, the Phoenix Wu also flapped her wings and tore the void apart. She smiled and said, forget it. This saint will also make a trip to the 1,000 Demons sacred realm. Thank you for your trouble, Phoenix Sage." Xiaohua smiled as he watched the Phoenix Wu leave. He then looked at Princess Qingqing and said, "Qingqing, are you leaving with fellow Taoist Lei?" Princess Qingqing stood below the Fortune Tao Palace's high platform. She did not dare to breathe loudly because she already understood everything. What great sage of the Great Sage Temple? What scholar palace master of the Immortal Palace? What Buddhist sect's Mithria Buddha of the world? They were all sect masters of the Fortune Gate. The Fortune Gate was not only a Tao sect that could rival the Immortal Palace, Thunder Sound Temple, and Great Sage Temple, but it was also the #1 Tao sect in the world. This was definitely the world's greatest secret. Princess Qingqing also understood that now that she knew this secret, how could Xiaohua let her go? She did not have any time to think and hurriedly replied, "Yes, that is right. No matter where Lei goes, I will follow." "Good." Xiaohua nodded and said, "Since that is the case, you Xia should pack up and follow Princess Xia." However, right when he spoke up here, Princess Xia spoke abruptly. "Darling Xiao, I won't be going. I will accompany the Scholar Palace Master to guard the Fortune Tao Palace." Xiaohua was shocked. He looked at Princess Xia in disbelief and asked curiously, "You, what the hell are you doing?" How can you not go? Your cultivation is shallow and can't help if you stay here. Speaking of this, Xiao Hua's heart suddenly softened. He seemed to understand Princess Zixia's thoughts. Chapter 4761. Sure enough, Princess Zixia bowed and said, Sect Master, you've seen it for yourself. Your disciples, Lu Yi, Fu Jiwen, and the others, have all chosen to stay in the 3 continents and fight the world, destroying ephemera to the death. Everyone will be timid in front of death, and I am no exception. If you had not found a way to break the array, I believe that they would not have stayed so resolutely. At this moment, the reason they stayed behind was because they trusted you. They believed that you would definitely be able to break through the Grand Formation and save the 3 continents from the apocalypse. What made them stay was their trust in you. But you left, and so did the 8 elders. Although the master of the Palace of Literature is here, it is obviously not enough. So, Xiao, I have to stay. I will stay here and let them know that you will definitely come back. With me here, only you can stay with them. Zixia. Xiao Hua bit his lips and only said 2 words after a long while. He did not know how to express his feelings. Furthermore, Elder Sect Master. Zixia smiled again. Although the Master of the Palace of Literature is at the peak of the 9th level of origin power, and no one in this world is his match, when it comes to strategizing, he is still lacking. Although my cultivation level is not high, I could be a very good advisor. Xiao Hua lowered his head and muttered to himself for a moment. He then discussed with Wen Chu in his mind and nodded. Zixia, you are right. With you here is a huge reassurance pill. It's more useful than 10 sect masters. Xiao Hua waved his hand and took out the few pills in his space. He handed them to Wen Chu and said, Fellow immortal, these pills can kill the king of monster insects. Okay. Wen Chu nodded and took the pills. But at this moment, Princess Qingqing suddenly shouted, Sect Master, I also want to stay. You. Xiao Hua's expression changed slightly. He said coldly, Why are you staying? Shut up, why are you staying? The Thunder Venerable was also furious. Princess Qingqing did not pay attention to them. She looked at Princess Zixia and said, Xin, you and I have been fighting for a lifetime. At this time, I am tired and do not want to fight with you anymore. I just want to ask you, among the 9 princesses of the Immortal Palace, who is the leader of the conspiracy? Princess Zixia frowned slightly. She looked at Princess Qingqing, then at Xiao Hua, and said proudly, If we're talking about an overt plot, then it's naturally this princess. But who is the number 1 schemer? Princess Qingqing asked. Isn't that obvious? Of course, the 5th princess is the winner. When Princess Zixia said that, there was no mockery in her voice. She already understood what Princess Qingqing wanted to say. That's right. I can't compare to you in terms of overt schemes. Princess Qingqing smiled. But in terms of schemes, you're no match for me. If that immortal emperor wants to make a move against the Fortune Gate, will he use an overt scheme or a hidden one? Princess Zixia smiled and said, Of course it's an overt scheme and a conspiracy, and there are even more conspiracies. That's right. Princess Qingqing chuckled. In this Fortune Gate, I'm afraid no one is more confident than me in seeing through His Majesty's schemes. So, if I don't stay behind, who will? Princess Qingqing then turned to the Thunderbolt Master and said, Thunderbolt, it's not that I don't want to go with you. In fact, in my eyes, whether the 3 mainlands are destroyed or not has nothing to do with me. As long as I follow you, even if the world is destroyed, I'm willing. However, the Fortune Gate is yours. Even the Sect Master has left his lover behind as a reassuring pill. As the Sect Master, you can't ignore it. How about this concubine stay behind to guard this place on your behalf? The Thunderbolt Master looked at Princess Qingqing for a long time without saying anything. Even if Xiao Hua called out to him in his heart, he ignored him. In the end, when Princess Qingqing was feeling a little apprehensive, the Thunderbolt Master said, Qingqing, as long as you're sincere and have no ulterior motives then, when I return from breaking the formation, I'll definitely marry you. Boom. As if the same lightning bolt had struck Princess Chingching. She couldn't move for half a cup of tea's time. You, Princess Chingching said in disbelief. Thunderbolt, is what you said true? Of course it's true. The Thunderbolt Master said, word by word. Xiaohua looked at Wen Chu, then at Taoist Sorcerer. Everyone else also looked at each other in dismay. This Thunderbolt Master, who was immature, could actually say such serious words. This was really out of their expectations. Woo, woo. Hearing the Thunderbolt Master's affirmation, Princess Chingching couldn't help crying. She covered her mouth with her hand, trying her best not to lose her composure. However, the hot tears still flowed down her beautiful cheeks. Zixia. Xiaohua couldn't make up his mind. He looked at Princess Zixia and asked through voice transmission, "What do you think?" Princess Zixia bit her lips. Looking at the tears flowing down Princess Chingching's face, Princess Zixia saw a rare weakness in Princess Chingching's eyes. Princess Zixia wasn't a petty person. She pondered for a moment and said through voice transmission, "All right, this is the final test. I hope she can pass the test." All right. Xiaohua also made up his mind. He nodded and said, "Princess Chingching, since you're willing to stay on behalf of the Thunderbolt Master, then you can stay. However, I'll say this first. You don't have a right to make decisions in any matter, only the right to make suggestions. If the Literature Palace's master discovers anything unusual about you, don't blame him for being ruthless. If it were any other time, Princess Chingching would have already turned hostile. At the very least, she would have given Xiaohua a cold face. However, with the Thunderbolt Master's promise, Princess Chingching felt a little resentful in her heart. However, she didn't show it on her face. Instead, she nodded and said, "I understand. Sigh, it's been hard on you all." Xiaohua sighed. With a wave of his sleeve, he brought Princess Zixia out of the Fortune Dao Palace. In the blink of an eye, they were already in the sky above the West Sea. Xiaohuayu. Princess Zixia's face was slightly hot, as if she knew what was going to happen. Xiaohua waved his hand and released the Pegasus flying chariot. He pulled Princess Zixia into the flying chariot and said with a smile, "I'll be gone for many years. I don't know when I'll be able to return, and I don't even know if I'll be able to return. Today, I'll drink with you." With that, Xiaohua took out a few Cosmos bags and handed them to Princess Zixia. He said, "I don't know what you need. Take these. I hope they'll be useful to you." All right. Princess Zixia took them and put them away without even looking at them. Then she said, "Xiaohua, where's the wine brewed from the peaches of immortality? Don't be stingy. This concubine has been craving for it for a long time. Give it as a reward. And thank you for all your support." Chapter 4762. Of course, of course. Xiaohua's eyes were moist. He took out the jade pot and took out some peaches and spiritual fruits that Zixia had never seen before. Princess Zixia raised her wine cup and accompanied Xiaohua to drink a few cups. Afterwards, her eyes were moist as she stared at Xiaohua and said, "Xiaohua, when this concubine asked you about the matters of Xiaoyu continent earlier, you used the excuse of teaching this concubine the 5 energies unification technique to evade the question. Now, you're leaving and I don't know when you'll come back. Don't tell me. You want to hide it from me forever?" Hearing Princess Zixia's words, Xiaohua felt dizzy. Don't tell me that every woman in this world has discerning eyes? All right. Xiaohua nodded. I didn't know if I could return to the Dawn Rain continent, so I wanted to bury the past in my memory. Now that I have the chance to go back, I can't hide it from you anymore. TSK, TSK. Hearing Xiaohua speak so seriously, Zixia couldn't help but cover her mouth and laugh. Don't tell me. You also had romantic affairs in the Dawn Rain continent? Xiaohua nodded awkwardly. Not just one. Really? Princess Zixia was surprised. She also stopped smiling and asked in a serious tone, "A man like you, who seems to be devoted to only one woman, actually has many close female friends?" Alas, Men really can't be trusted. Facing Princess Xia's disappointment, Xiao Hua could only brace himself and tell her everything about Fairy Hong Xia and Xue Xue. Although Princess Xia was a Confucian cultivator, she had been influenced by the 3 cardinal principles and 5 elements of Confucian cultivation since young. Moreover, she was born in the Immortal Palace, so it was normal for her to have 3 wives and 4 concubines. However, knowing was knowing and accepting was accepting. As the 9th princess of the Immortal Emperor, she couldn't help but feel repulsed by sharing her husband with others. The reason why she chose Xiao Hua back then was, on one hand, because of Xiao Hua's deep affection, and on the other hand, because of Xiao Hua's purity. She even felt proud of it. Previously, when Princess Xia asked Xiao Hua to tell her about his experience in the Dawn-Rain continent, she was interrupted by Xiao Hua. As astute as she was, she already had an idea and made some preparations. But when she heard Xiao Hua admit it with her own ears, she naturally felt wronged. However, when she heard the story of how Xiao Hua and Fairy Hong Xia met and fell in love, that grudge gradually disappeared. After all, at that time, she did not know Xiao Hua at all. Fairy Hong Xia, as a high and mighty sect disciple, actually chose Xiao Hua. That kind of love was not something she could compare to. Of course, Xiao Hua didn't dare to conceal the matter of Fairy Hong Xia's cultivation going berserk. What could Princess Xia say now? Saving people was the most important thing. Naturally, there was no need to consider anything else. When Xiao Hua brought up the matter of Xue Xue, a wry smile appeared on Princess Xia's face. She already knew Xiao Hua very well, and she knew that even though he was already the most powerful being on the 3 continents, his indecisive nature hadn't changed at all. From this, she could also imagine that day, in the Imperial Thunder Sect, Xue Xue took the initiative to pursue Xiao Hua, and Xiao Hua was submissive and ambiguous with her. Princess Xia couldn't help but clench her teeth and pinch Xiao Hua's arm, secretly blaming him for being unfaithful. When she heard that Fairy Hong Xia was angry because of Xiao Hua's ambiguous behavior and made a choice, Princess Xia heaved a sigh of relief and glared at Xiao Hua, saying, "Serves you right. That's how it should be. I'll let you men know that there's no good end to being a womanizer outside." However, when she saw that Xiao Hua didn't say anything and continued to speak with a calm face, Princess Xia's heart thumped. She already had a bad premonition. Sure enough, when she heard that Xue Xue had no choice but to sacrifice herself to save Xiao Hua, she couldn't help but clench her fists. Princess Xia couldn't help but clench her fists. She sighed and said, "Darling Xiaoyu, you've let Sister Xue down." Yes. Xiao Hua didn't withdraw his gaze and continued to look into the distance, replying, "I did let her down. At that time, I really didn't know what love was. Moreover, after that, my feelings for Fairy Hong Xia had somewhat died. When I compared her to Xue Xue, I always felt that she was too shallow and too self-righteous." No. Princess Xia quickly waved her hand and said, "You can't say that about Fairy Hong Xia. She wasn't wrong. Who could tolerate their lover having emotional entanglements with other women? Moreover, it wasn't easy for her. At that time, your strength wasn't strong and your reputation wasn't widespread. The pressure she was under was something you don't know. If you say she was wrong, then you're wrong. You." "Yes." Xiao Hua hurriedly nodded. "So after arriving at the 3 continents, I tried my best not to provoke female cultivators. Even you, at the beginning, only in the illusion of the profound water palace. Had a simple beginning. Later, to be honest, I also didn't know if I could return to the Dawn-Rain continent. You were also very good to me and sacrificed a lot for me. So, Princess Xia looked at Xiao Hua and said, "This matter is also my fault. Because of that half a heaven's will, I was punished by His Majesty. I only felt that with your cultivation, I didn't know how many years it would take before you could rescue me. Moreover, I only felt that you had a good impression of me and didn't know if you could do more for me. So before I was suppressed, I begged His Majesty to give me some time to myself. It was out of my expectations that His Majesty actually agreed. That's true. Hearing that Princess Zixia's tone was gentle and didn't have any intention of blaming him, Xiaohua hurriedly echoed. Yes, His Majesty was indeed somewhat duplicitous. He was extremely strict with you, but in reality, when he punished you, he didn't really imprison you in the Heaven's Punishment Prison Crystal. Instead, he placed you in Liao River to be suppressed. Although it was to guard against the 4 great clans, it was beneficial for your cultivation and healing. This was also the real reason why I tolerated him later on. Yes, if His Majesty didn't agree, Ching. How could she have escaped from the Immortal Palace? Princess Zixia's train of thought had obviously been led astray by Xiaohua, so she casually said. However, after a moment, Princess Zixia came to her senses and looked at Xiaohua faintly. Great spiritual master Xiao, now that you're a Taoist Mayana realm cultivator and the #1 person in the 3 continents, you'll probably be one of the best in the Dawn Rain continent. You have already achieved the goal that Fairy Hong Xiao requested. When she sees you, she'll definitely be wild with joy and wholeheartedly stay by your side. Look at what you're saying, Xiaohua said with a bitter smile. I've already been honest with you. How can I not be honest with her? Moreover, as time passes, my heart has changed, maybe. Shut up. Hearing this, Princess Zixia's expression changed greatly, and she said angrily, Xiaohua, if you judge Fairy Hong Xia like this, then you don't need to see her anymore. Give it a reward. And thank you for all your support. You're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.